Yeah, now we're going live. Hey everyone, welcome to Know Your Gear QA live podcast number 241. Thank you guys for joining me this week. Hope you guys had a fantastic week since last show. Let's see, what do we got? Let's see what we have going on. Obviously, I've already pinned a bunch of questions, so we have some subjects to talk about. I don't really have anything to talk about today, and anything interesting. Maybe a couple things, maybe. We'll do some giveaways today. We'll give away a guitar crate. I didn't give away a guitar crate last week because it was just chaotic. Remember when the internet kind of dropped? And we'll be watching that today to make sure the internet doesn't drop. And maybe we'll do two. Like I said, we'll definitely do one for sure. And real quick, I have this thing. We've enabled the member thing on YouTube where you pay a fee and then it like supports the channel. It's like a patron, but on YouTube. Remember I was apprehensive about doing this. I kind of turned it on and didn't really announce it. And I've got a few on there. And again, you guys are like my beta test group for this. And I just want to announce that Claude just joined. I just saw it. Welcome to the KYG crew. One thing I will tell you about it, I'm kind of looking into this idea of what I liked was I can sort comments across all the videos from all time by members, and then I can respond to those comments. That was kind of cool. So there you go. That was kind of interesting. But like I said, we'll see how it goes. I'm not sure what it is yet, how I'm going to use it, if I'm going to use it. But let's thank you guys for joining that have done it. And let's, like I said, we have some questions pinned to talk about. We have some super chats to talk about. We also, what else? I think that's it. Let's get into it. Let's get right into it. The first one came from Fred. And Fred, I want to thank you for this question because I know you've been posting it a couple times the last couple of weeks. And I saw it. I wanted to answer it. And then, got chaotic. And so thank you for coming today and putting it first. So it got my attention again. It says, "Hey, Phil, I love the show. A lot of people say he's talking about the Marshall DSL 40 is one of the best amps for its price. What are your thoughts about that? I did a shootout with that amp once. I don't remember what I compared it to. That was that long ago. I thought it was maybe against the Hot Rod Deluxe. Might have been something like that. And I love that amp. I think it's a great amp. I mean, it's got Marshall vibe. It's got a good clean channel. It's a great pedal platform. I've heard like a lot of amps like that. I've heard a rumbling here and there that it's they had issues. Like somebody has it and says, oh, it crapped out on them or it was acting up. But overall, I've had good experiences with that amp. My friends that I know that have it have good experiences with an amp, and I think it's a really strong go-to platform. For me, a lot of times, there's two reasons for me to like an amplifier. And one, of course, is it inspires me or I love it. You know what I mean? It's doing something magical. But I find that's one, that's very hard to find. And two, when you do find that magical thing, it's short-lived. What I mean by that is it doesn't like the newness wear off. It doesn't always do that. You can't find an amplifier that's just always perfect and magical in every room, every situation, every day. You know what I mean? And so to me, that's one thing. And the second thing I'm looking for is a very amp that has a great utility, kind of to it. In other words, the idea that it's a great pedal platform or it has a great tone by itself. If I'm not in the mood to hook up pedals, I can use it as raw power if I want to run some kind of, profiler or modeler through it. You know what I mean? It's very utilitarian, just as perfect for me. That amp fits the bill, in my opinion, as this great amp. And over the years, I fell in love with all kinds of amps. During this run of the YouTube channel, doing gear reviews, if you guys notice, one thing I do a lot is the philosophy of the channel has always been, you try it yourself, you learn the best way to work it. And that's why I always spend more time with a lot of the products. I tried to at least spend some time when a product gets here. And it's I've learned over the years, it's not normal. That's why I say that. I know it's not normal because I'm constantly, not say constantly, I don't want to exaggerate. I have issues, or sometimes companies have issues with me with they're like, hey, it's been a month or it's been weeks or it's been 2 months and you still haven't done the video. And they're like, what's going on here? And I'm like, well, I'm spending some time with it. And I usually give companies updates too. And it seems to me that the norm for reviews is the product shows up, the video goes out, and then that's just it. And I tell them all the time, I'm trying to figure out how to use it, not just, kind of like, hey, check this out, it's a guitar. You know what I mean? And that being said, I've been spending more time over the last couple of years with high-end amplifiers than I've ever done before. Although I've had a few in the past, I've really been, and my overall, I guess, consensus with myself on the expensive high-end amplifiers is they're not that magical. I mean, there's certain things that I love that certain ones do, but I mean, realistically, a DSL-40 is just a fantastic amp that I think I could take anywhere and use anywhere. And there you go. I mean, that's really the is if you side by side it to some exotic, Marshall hand wired something, is it as good? I don't know. I don't know if it's as like, I don't know if the tones sparkle or do whatever the thing is that people love about them. I notice with me, the amps that are affordable and the more expensive amps, a lot of it comes down to, in my opinion, sustain. You know what I mean? Everybody's trying to get, I like to say, true sustain instead of this artificial sustain. I know how to get sustain. I can put a pedal in front of something like a compressor or a sustainer pedal, which is basically the same thing. Put it in front of there and hold a note and keep it for a long time. I do a lot of videos. I've done a lot of videos about sustain, and I love it because it's always half and half. Half the viewers are like, who cares about sustain? The other ones are like, thank you for the information. And here's the easy part about that. If you don't care about sustain, then that's fine. Good for you. You don't need it. However, if it is something you're chasing, then you probably understand like what I'm talking about. It becomes very difficult if you want notes or chords to hang around for as long as you want them to before you transition to the next note or chord. So to answer your question, I like the amp. A lot of people say it's good because it is good. It's a good amp. He had a follow-up question. I'm going to give it to him. Fred also asked, he says, if he's shielding a Gibson Les Paul with shielding paint, do you think in the future the guitar will have lost some value because of this? By the way, love the show. Thanks. Thank you for the compliments. Technically, when you're talking about the biggies, the Gibsons and the Fenders and made in the USA guitars and things that we're hoping to one day have some kind of value, whether it become vintage or just, as they go long in the tooth, so to speak, their lifespan, the prices on the new ones keep going up. So that brings up the value of when you bought yours, right? I mean, that's just the reality of it. If you bought it new for $1,200 and 10 years later, now it's selling for $1,900, obviously you're going to get about 12 to 15 used for yours. Then you've got your money back or then some. And of course you don't want to devalue it. I don't know if I would overly worry about that, but I would tell you that I don't overly, I don't worry about shielding the Gibson cavities on guitars, on Gibsons, Les Pauls. The main reason is I've done videos and again, sometimes you do a video and then there's questions after the video and sadly I can't go back and redo parts of the video and go, oh, I didn't anticipate that. That's why so many times I do the videos, send them to the patrons and hope that they catch a couple things or make a comment like, something like, what I'm about to tell you. And then I go, great, and I add it in. In fact, a lot of times, I'd say 78% of my videos have a little cut-ins of me, and that's what I'm doing. I'm answering a question, hopefully, that a lot of people are going to have, but the patron caught it first. So that's why I just want to thank the patrons for always being my kind of quality assurance team on that. But I did a Firefly video, and it was a Les Paul style guitar, and in there I talked about, it didn't have shielding in it, and you could add that. And the main thing I was doing was, in the video, the cavity was painted black. That was what was interesting to me. The cavity was painted black. What I did is I put the multimeter on it to test it to see if it was metallic shielding. If it was shielding, because it would obviously have conductivity to it through it, and it didn't. And a lot of people put, well, why would you need to shield it? It has humbuckers. Well, I agree, but sometimes they use cheap wires and there's no shielding on them. And if the pickups aren't wax potted, I mean, when you're talking about cheap stuff, you definitely, when it comes to humbuckers, when it comes to cheaper guitars, cheaper humbuckers, I like to shield it or have it shielded or do shielding to those guitars. More expensive guitars, I find that's rarely the problem. You know what I mean, with those guitars. So my answer to you is I wouldn't overly worry about it unless it's a very expensive custom shop Les Paul or something extra special about that Les Paul. I wouldn't worry about just taking shielding paint to it. If you're that worried, you could always use shielding tape, and that way you can remove it. no problem. And also on that note, I don't know if I'd overly worry about it. The thing about shielding is another thing that comes up is, and I've said this before in videos, I only shield things, well, besides when a customer just asks me to do it, I only shield things when there's a problem. I never shield things, in anticipation of the problem. So, because that's just the way I like to do it. Like I said, I like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So that's just my opinion. But again, if you want to shield it out of caution, I understand that. There's nothing wrong with, being preemptive. This one I want to answer because it's real fast. Luke says, "Hey Phil, I have a Gibson Les Paul Studio, but the nut slot on the low E is cut too low." Great, I have a video on that. Just type in McKnight and nut slots or nut. That'll come up just enough right there. Phil McKnight. Well, let's test it. Sometimes they say stuff like that. It's one thing about having like 100 million views collectively. You get the Google sometimes. Man, the algorithms don't like you as much, but man, the Google searching and the YouTube searching find you. Let's try McKnight and nut. Hey, that's, and it says, there it is. Okay, look, I mean, here it is. It literally coming up first. How to fix a nut with baking soda. There you go. I'm not the first, I'm sure, or the last to do a video on this. This is just my take on how to do it. This is how I've been doing it for many, many years. So obviously, if you do that. One thing I will tell you that I do, if you see these tech tips, a little fun fact for you over here. If you see tech tips on the videos, what it means is it's rather to the point. That's what tech tips meant. I mean, it's not like I'm a tech and I'm giving tips. That makes sense too. When I did tech tips, it was kind of like my way of marking the videos as resource material. Instead of hearing me talk for 5 minutes about like sharpen my axe, here's my theory, this is what I'm doing, this is why I'm doing it. Those videos don't have any of that stuff. It's just, here's how you do it. Bam, 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 bam. And some of them are like 2 minutes long and some of them are 7. I think that's one of the longest ones at 7 minutes. I mean, I don't want you, I don't go into a spiel about how like, sometimes you have a nut and the slot's not cut right and what you want to think about. I just go right to how do you fix it. So to answer your question, Luke, that's how you fix it. Super easy, man. Just do that. And then other than that, you can replace the nut, but that's a fast, easy fix and it's good. It'll last a long time. This one comes from Vimps69. He says, or they say, "Hey Phil, I remember you were excited about your yellow BC Rich Gunslinger. Do you still have it?" I don't. I ended up selling that to my buddy Brian, who owns Paint Huffer. And I talked about this briefly on a show, I don't know, a few episodes ago, maybe a dozen episodes ago, could have been a while ago, about, I went down the rabbit hole of everybody I try to buy all the guitars that, I wanted when I was younger, like, the Gunslinger, the Warlock, I don't know, Kramers. And, it never worked out. Like with that guitar, it was really good, but think about that guitar. And I bought that guitar at the right price. Like I said, I got it at a great price. So I got pretty much all my money back. I might have broke even. I think I probably went in the whole $50. Cause one of the things that's afforded to me to having a YouTube channel, I did a video of it. So I think that video probably made a $60 or $100. And then if I sold it for $50, $60, less than what I paid for it, you see how it works out. I flattened out. And, but I mean, I did a setup on it. I polished the frets, you know what I mean? So I don't get that time back, but I got it out of my system. And to be honest with you, even if I lost $100, I'd have been happy because it's out of my system. What happened with that that guitar, why I got rid of it, is why I got rid of all those guitars I've ever done that I bought, which is you buy those guitars because really what it is, I just want that 80s metal look. And what I've realized is I'm not that person anymore, nor that I think I ever was, like a shredder. I'm not a shredder. And so I want a guitar that looks like I'm a shredder, but I don't want it to feel like that. So I've told you guys this already. That's why I gave up and I just had Kiesel. I had that Kiesel made, that single cut bevel with the purple, pink crackle and then green pickups. That guitar though, nothing else about it is metal. I mean, it's 10-inch radius fretboard. The neck is not thin, but definitely not thick. It's in the middle of the sweet spot. Actually, probably a little thicker than my Gibson SG. So again, the SGs are kind of thin, the 60s carve. It doesn't have high output pickups. It's more tamed down. Everything about it is more tamed down. A hardtail bridge, no waka waka job. And so, I mean, it just does what I want it to do. I pick it up, I play some 80s riffs, I get, have some fun, but the guitar sounds the way I want it to, and it feels the way I want it to. And what I found is, like I said, I have this Nuno in 4 right here that I had swirl dipped. Of course, I think it looks great. And I think if I turn the camera this way, yeah, I have here. Sorry, guys. I didn't know I was going to have to turn camera. There's a gem right there. So, I mean, again, I kind of think like at this point, really, to be honest, between the Nuno and the gem, I'm there. I got the 80s guitars out of my system, and so that's what happened with that, and that's why I haven't really done it since, anything like that. I've just done because, to be honest with you, that was pre-COVID, and or maybe at the beginning of COVID, whatever it was when you could do that. Now the prices we know all jumped, and although they're coming back down now, part of that is I'm going to sidestep here so to talk about this. If you notice, the prices on used gear is coming down. I've noticed massively, if you haven't noticed. And I think that's not so much it could be a sign of the end of this guitar boom, and we're seeing it, kind of mellow out. Even with the inflation as the new prices rise, I mean, it's just massive. And like I said this before, earlier this year, I bought a BE small box, Friedman small box 50. And Robert, one of the owners of Friedman, was visiting his mom in Tucson, Arizona, met me. We had lunch, and he sold it to me. I paid basically dealer cost. And at the time I bought it, that was very nice of him to do that for me. At the time I bought it, you couldn't even find one used, and maybe not even new. And if they were used, they were asking $100 less than new. Now I think there's like 10 of them right now, because I had it in my watch list. There's like 10 of them. But I will tell you guys, if you're looking for deals, one of the things to think about is, besides what's going on with, maybe people are selling stuff, and there's going to be people who are going to drive right to the people, it's inflation and they're broke and they're going to sell stuff. You could be right, but unfortunately, in my experience in the music industry, is we need to wait till January to find out for sure, because people generally just start ditching product right in the tail end of November and December to buy Christmas gifts, but also to buy new guitars, new gear. People, the thing about the holidays is, what people don't understand is, a lot of times people say, okay, people are strapped and they can't, because they're buying gifts. That's true. However, what's also true is people either have money or run in higher amounts of debt, because once you start spending, it's kind of like the old "I'm in for a penny, so I'm in for a pound" kind of deal. Somebody's like, you're buying somebody a scarf, and you're like, I need a scarf too. You know what I mean? So a lot of people, if you notice, start spending for themselves more during the holidays and others. And so sometimes to justify that, you get rid of gear. So we see every year around this time a purge of gear. And I want to share this with you because I've said this before. This is what I do. Let me go to my share screen. What I'm sharing with you is the front page of Reverb. Let me see. Sorry, so I jump around. I'm trying to make it to where you can see more. Okay. What you want to see is on the front page of Reverb. You all should have something like this. You should have a thing that says recently viewed listings, and from your watch list, and recommended for you, the latest from your feed, stuff like that. Reverb staff picks. What I look for is new listings. I tell you guys this all the time. Go to where it says new listings, and then you go right over here, and it says see more. I'm sorry you can't see where I clicked it, but it just said see more. This is all the listings almost in real time. There's 355,534 results for listings, right? Okay. And this is stuff coming in as we see it listed. And what I've learned over the years with Reverb specifically is you want to kind of hit while the iron's hot. You want to look at stuff as soon as someone lists it, because what I found is, yeah, you can wait till there's somebody who's had it, they're listed, and they start bringing the price down. You can watch it and see if they send you an offer, and of course you can send them an offer. But what I found is, sometimes you'll be shocked how many times somebody is selling something dirt cheap because, they put a guest price out there. And what happens is, on Reverb, some of you guys have experienced this, somebody may put us something for let's say it's worth $700. They put it for $400. And then what happens is instead of somebody buying it right away, somebody lowballs them, says, well, you take 3. They knew 4 was a good deal. So you piss them off and then they raise it up to 7 and then they just wait for offers. So a lot of times if you see them when they first list stuff, you can, hey, look, there's an analog sun face for $800. Just laughing about that. $1,000 pedals. You know, again, this is a thing I like to do. You can do it on your phone, on your app. And sometimes I'm not looking for a good deal. I'm just looking to see if there's anything, you know, like, oh, that's cool. I didn't, you know, I always wanted one of those and that's a great price. I just had let me go back. Hold on. I just had an experience, where, I told you guys, this wasn't a bad experience. What happened was there was a guitar I've been wanting for many years. Somebody just listed it. The price was way good. I think they wanted 13 and they normally go for 19 used. I was like, wow, that's a really good deal. You know, it was like perfect condition. Everything was perfect. And I sent them a quick message saying, hey, I love the guitar. Can you tell me how much it weighs? And they said 7.5 pounds. And I'm like, oh, the guitar gear gods have spoken. They want Phil McKnight to have this guitar. Let me go back to my screen. I'm sorry. And got the guitar, and I got to tell you, perfect condition. In fact, beautiful, exactly like they described. Perfect, like it was came out of the, you know, brand new out of the case. Fantastic deal, no complaints. It was 8.5 pounds. So obviously they probably used their home scale, held the guitar, tried to do the math, something, whatever. They just didn't, you know, didn't weigh. It's a great guitar. I'm not going to keep it. Not that I'm that picky, but I got a good enough deal. That's why I wanted to try it. It's not even the weight. It's just overall, I was like, I don't know. Is this something I want? But what's great is at that price, I'll be able to sell it for what I paid for it, move along. You know what I mean? And I got to try it. And it's something I haven't been able to put my hands on in at least 10 years. So there you go. So some thoughts on that and used gear right now. But like I said, right now, used gear, I mean, the prices have been great. Like I said, much better than I've seen them in the last year or two. So, yeah, Jeff says, seen a couple of deals on Gibsons on GC lately. Yeah, I mean, look, if you go to Sweetwater, this is the most in stock I've seen Sweetwater too. So, I mean, there is definitely, you know, a slowdown of some sort, which is, and I want to kind of go to this, because again, I'm not ready to decide, you know, me personally, where we're at with, you know, what I see. What I will tell you is this, look, for the last couple of years, this has definitely been a guitar boom. And, you know, in using that analogy of guitar boom, or using an analogy I like, is we've been going about 125 miles an hour on a 75 mile an hour road. And now I'm seeing it slow down a little bit. I've been seeing it slow down on all fronts. But you got to understand, we're still speeding. So it's, you know, some people are like right to the doom and gloom. And again, I'm not saying that's not happening either, but there's a big difference between stuck in traffic and we're still speeding. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Masha T, this is going to be the worst answer ever. Masha T22 says, Phil, how do you figure out the shipping charge on Reverb if you want to sell a guitar? You know, this is why I say it's the worst answer. You know, I have a FedEx business account and I'll use that sometimes. You know, it's sometimes cheaper than what Reverb is quoting me, but a lot of times I'll use what Reverb quotes me because it works too. I mean, usually I know the rates, you know, like across the country, it's going to cost, depending on the weight and the size. I mean, there's some things you kind of get in tune with real fast shipping guitars, like, hey, 52-inch box versus 54-inch box, you know, especially if it's on the heavier side, it's going to jump up like $10-$20. I just kind of ballpark it. There's probably something that calculates it for you, but I've been able to ballpark it. But I will tell you this, what I've learned about, for me personally with shipping, personal, not business. No, I don't want to talk about that because that's not going to pertain to you. With me personally, what I focus on is never the shipping, okay? I focus on what I want to get. That's usually what I've learned to find this to be a pleasant experience selling a product for me personally. Like I said, my personal guitar, my personal thing. I go, okay, what price do I want for it? And then how do I figure out how to get as much of that in my pocket as possible? So a lot of times when I sell stuff, like I have a very realistic expectation of like, okay, after the fees, after the shipping, after this, this is what I'm going to take home. And as long as that's the number I want to take home, then I don't really worry. So what I mean by that is a lot of times, almost 90% of the time, whatever the price I'm trying to get, that's like the shipping is just going to help. That's extra money on the pile to help ensure that that number is cinched up. So like, for instance, if I want $900 for something and that's really what I want, and I list it for, $975 and then $25 shipping, the shipping might seem cheap, but really all I'm trying to do is after shipping, after fees, even though I know I'm going to pay $75 for shipping and I'm charging $25, there you go. The only caveat to that is every once in a while you sell a product and, you just, because as you guys know, as your product is less perfect, in other words, to me, I like to definitely play it down. That's just my strategy. I don't recommend it to everybody. I'm not telling you what to do. So for instance, especially if you look at my listings, what I sell my stuff personal, if it says, trust me, if it says good, it's excellent. If it says excellent, it's perfect in the box, right? Like I always downplay. I never I'm always looking for the one down. So, if I know it's good, it's fair, right? Because again, I really want the expectation of the person to get it, open up the box and go, thanks, man. Yeah, that guy nailed it. And the reason is I don't want to see it back. That's, for me, again, not a business, it's a personal person shipping. I don't want to see anything back ever. That's the biggest headache ever. And so sometimes what I will do as a strategy that's worked for me in the past and currently is if there's a product that I'm like, okay, even this, it's got a couple marks and I'm kind of detailing I'm being detailed in the description, but there's some issues and I've detailed as much as I can, but I know that it's really hard to explain what I'm talking about. You see it all the time. We're like, there's a nick, but it won't come out in the picture. A lot of that stuff is true. Sometimes people are full of crap, but a lot of times you just can't get stuff to picture right, especially a color. Sometimes you're like, trust me, this is blue. It's not green. As much as it looks green in the pictures, it's blue. If I know I have stuff like that, what I will do is I will inflate the shipping costs. Okay. Not crazy, but I will make sure that whatever real shipping costs were is shipping. Is what I'm charging. And the reason I do that is because if that guitar goes out or that product comes out and that person goes, hey man, I got it and it's just not what I thought it was, I want to send it back. I want to be able to go, okay, I'll refund you minus the shipping. You know what I mean? Unless it's a defective product. You see what I'm saying? I'm not talking about like if there's something wrong. I'm talking about literally like, okay, now that I see the color, I don't want it. I go, okay, fine, send it back. I'll refund your money minus the shipping. And that way I'm not out anything. I hate it when I'm kind of negative. I think you guys all know that, you guys all can feel that. No one likes to be like, well, after that went out and came back, I'm down $87 trying to sell a guitar that I was, you know what I mean? That wasn't even necessarily to sell. So that's just how I do things. Again, and then a little bit, it's a little shaded differently because again, my YouTube profile, in other words, because of my profile on YouTube, I tend to, because sometimes my son and my wife handle a lot of that stuff, and especially my wife, I tend to kind of like lean into the, hey, let's make it, make it better than it is, make sure it's, described, perfectly, but also make sure they're getting better. Because again, I don't want to deal with it because I'm not like I'm a public figure, but you can understand, right? It's kind of like I don't need them to be like, aren't you the YouTube guy? And I'm like, because again, when I sell stuff, I use my actual KYG shop so they know it's me for that reason. So again, I'm just trying to minimize the headaches of selling stuff online. Yeah, Landon says dealing with shipping is no fun. It sucks, and it gets worse as the volume goes up. Yeah, Beast Rich 581 says I sold a small amp once. See, this is why I want to read this. He says, sold a small combo once, and the buyer sent me an email that complimented me on my packaging skills. I will tell you this, and I kind of hate saying this, but again, I always tell you guys I'll talk about whatever on the podcast. I call it, I'm not kidding, I call it packaging theater. I remind my wife all the time. She'll say, I inspect a lot of the packages that go out, and she'll go, oh, she packed it. And I know she packed it well. And I go, but hey, can you shove something here and do this? And she's like, oh, it's fine. It's not moving. My wife sold, shipped, thousands of guitars over the years. And I go, no. And I call it packaging theater. I go, look, when people open the package, it has to feel like, man, they went crazy. They like, that's what you want, because that is a feeling of like, okay, Not everybody, but some people are like this. I mean, it's just everybody's different. Some people will open something up, and if something isn't right on the instrument, they'll be like, did it move in there? Did it get damaged? Right? You're trying to conclude like what is wrong, or this guitar's rattling. Was it rattle because it rattles, or it rattled because it got damaged? And knowing that it was shipped really, really well, I think puts a buyer at ease. And so, yeah, I do the same thing. I like, in fact, on my feedbacks, if you look, I just got a bunch of them recently. I love it when they say that, like, wow, this is how you pack, or pack really well. That's what I'm looking for every time. That's the win. Because then I know, I'm like, okay, because I know, again, I know we're all kind of the same, a little different, but kind of same. Everybody wants to feel like the money they spent, they're getting a good return on that. And so I try to kind of lean into that. That's just what I've learned over the years. Mute the Bozo said, I did shipping and receiving and packing for years. Don't miss it. I absolutely hate it. I told you guys very upfront when I decided, when I told Ralph and Shauna that I go, hey, I'm not coming to the shop anymore. I'm going to lean into the YouTube side of this because I'm going to do all the other stuff I did. Because I have other businesses. I go, I'm going to do that and the YouTube, and I'm not going to come in the shop. And the discussion was exactly what you guys can imagine. The discussion was like, well, why don't you do YouTube? And then like, and then people will buy online from our online website. And the reality was, like I said, none of us wanted to do it. None of us wanted to be a shipping receiving company. That's what you pretty much turn into, an online business, is a shipping receiving company, just constantly shipping stuff out. And I didn't want to pitch, I didn't want to do videos where I'm just constantly pitching a product that I didn't have control of, because I was like, I could just stay in the store. You know what I mean? I can just talk about guitars that I have to sell all day in the store. I don't need to make videos about that. So I understand that it's not as fun as a lot of people think it is. I think a lot of people I think guitar players, it's the weird, we're probably guitar players. And I can't imagine, because again, I don't do other hobbies. Guitar players are one of the few people I've seen that can romanticize a job like retail. and it's true. A lot of people are like, man, it must be great just to hang out in a guitar store all day. And you're like, well, you understand it's just a retail business like any other retail business. I mean, I understand you love the things that's on the wall, but essentially at the end of the day, it's no different than doing any other retail business. You're essentially helping customers. That's your skill set. Your skill set shouldn't be, I really like guitars, which is a funny thing, because I should probably, one day we could talk about that. When hiring people, I remember how many people would like to tell me how much they liked guitars. And I'm like, well, that's great. But what I'm really liking to hear is, I like helping people solve problems. I like, I like sales. I like, customer service. I mean, that's essentially, it's the same job. So there you go. Okay. It says, Mike says, I wanted a Friedman amp, but I had no room and I like what I have, so making space was not an option. So I bought a Durley Shirley pedal. Great sound though, through my AC-15. Of course, look, I think that's the perfect way to do things, man. You gotta, to me, something has to go for something to come. It's just how it works. I don't have infinite space. Because of the YouTube channel, I'm always filled to the rafters with stuff in the house. It's my house mostly looks like a shipping receiving shop. I mean, there's boxes like in my front room right now. There's probably 16 gig bags, empty ones, just laying on there. I'm just trying to think what I saw in my front room when I just came upstairs. 16 gig bags, probably about a half a dozen boxes full of packing materials, and some boxes full of stuff. There was at the front door, there's a half stack sitting at the front door with a couple guitar cases. And I mean, it's just all this stuff that I have, it's just everywhere. So yeah. You got to do it. And I love that idea, by the way. Yeah, if you want the Friedman Dirty Shirley, get the pedal. They're really close. I mean, that's the cool part about it. So, and then we'll go to the next one, but I want to do Ian. Ian says, oh, and it jumped. Ian, hold on. Let me see if I can find you. That's what I love about sometimes the screens jump. I don't know, Ian. he was basically saying, I apologize. Oh, here, I found it. Unpacking is a hugely emotional experience. Totally agree with you. Over the top packaging. Yes, I think that's where, hey, look, we've talked about this many times on the show, where Sweetwater, one of the things that helped them kill. Look, I'm sure I don't know if you were all like me, but I'll tell you, when I saw Sweetwater was sending out candy with their stuff, I thought it was the dumbest thing I ever seen. I was like, why? What is it? I get it. Sweetwater, sweet candy. I get used Halloween candy from last year. This is the dumbest thing ever. What I didn't know back then, because I didn't deal in that environment. I had a store that was face to face. So to me, selling was a experience of a one-on-one experience, right? In other words, people buy from you. They don't buy just your product. So you have to put, your face on. You have to be this person that they can relate to and understand and like. And it's important that you take interest in what they're saying and doing. And that's a different thing. And to me, like, if somebody came in my store, I don't think I ever made the joke, but it would be like, if somebody came in my Joe and I'm like, want a lollipop? They'd be like, what the hell? But what I didn't see then was exactly what Sweetwater had captured, which is exactly what you're saying. They captured it added to the experience, right? It added to this ultimate, like, I'm going to unpackage this thing and now I got some candy. And there's this, again, it's about steps and steps. It's one of my complaints, and I've said it many times about Kiesel guitars. I think one of the things they're missing is when you get their guitars, because I've ordered a few now and I love them, but man, when you get them, you open them up, there's the gig bag, they're packed well, but then there's nothing. There's no like, welcome to the Kiesel family and a Kiesel card. And I think deep down, and I'm just guessing because I don't really, talk to those guys. Maybe they think that's cheesy. I mean, that happens, right? Some people that own businesses think things are, like, I'm not into that. I'm not doing it. But deep down, I think they're missing how much that matters. I don't know why it matters. It just does. You get a pedal and you get an inspection card and a certificate. Like, certificate of authenticity is about the craziest, dumbest thing ever. But I fall for it every time, right? I just literally, what do you call it? I fall for it. I just said that, but I'll say it again. So there you go. All right. Matt Harrison says, bit of honey. I don't know. Some of you guys can confirm this. I like creating small problems from the Sweetwater guys. They've been really nice to the channel, given that I've been pretty, I started my relationship out there publicly with them being kind of, not strict, but, kind of hammering them a little bit. And then, they've been very kind. I heard that, I can tell you, let me tell you what I do know. I know if you don't want the candy, I don't get the candy. So if you guys want to laugh, here's a good laugh for you guys, the diehards that pay attention. If you see a Sweetwater box at my house or in a video like that PA system and there's candy, that means it was sent to me as a promotional by Sweetwater. In other words, they want to review it or something, because it's not on my personal account the same way. And there's candy. My personal account has a notation, I don't want the candy. The reason is my kids don't eat candy, and I don't need candy, so I don't need. I don't even like candy that much, and I would probably eat it because it's there. And my mentality is like, I was raised like, it's free candy, you can't throw that away. So I just don't want it around. But what's funny is not only can you tell them that you don't want candy, but I was told that you can specifically ask for certain kinds of candy. Like not different what they have, but like, like Matt says, bit of honeys. I think if you tell your sales engineer rep person that you just want bit of honeys, I heard that you can do that. I don't know. Maybe just for special people. I don't know. So find out for somebody. Somebody ask me, or not ask me, ask them. Somebody ask somebody to do it and then give me feedback on how it went. Because I can't do it because then they'd start sending me candy again. So, okay. Yeah, Matthew says he's diabetic and they can keep the candy. You know what I wish? I wish there was something else besides candy. That would be a nice thing. I don't know what. A bag of picks. I don't need picks either, but you know what I mean. Just so you still have the experience. Okay. We talk too much on the too much candy talk now. Okay. Okay, let's get to some other questions. We're doing okay. This one's from Derek. Derek asked a great question. For me, it's more of a personal question. He says, "Hey, I love the show. What piece of gear made you the most happy or gave you the most joy for 2021? As you guys know, I do a year in review video every year. And this year, since I knew I was going to do it again, I actually took the time to put it in like a spreadsheet all year. So it's great because it's one of those videos. I don't think, again, you can see the amount of workload that goes into writing. I have to go through each video, write everything down, kind of go through those stuff. Now I just sort it and do all this stuff. And so I actually have the answer. And let me go to it. Hold on, I'm actually pulling up an Excel spreadsheet. Isn't that funny? I charted my feelings. No, seriously, I already know the answer, but I wanted to see. So this year, because I did do a chart, when I talk about my gear in review video, I'll actually have awards. I did it my first year and I kind of backed away from it then because, when you're shooting from the hip on your feelings, a lot of people are like, that doesn't make any sense. Why do you say that's this has got more quantifiable because I actually took the time to like score everything and figure out what my favorite gear was for the year. So best amp, best guitar, best pedal, best accessory. So I'll be giving awards and runner-ups and stuff, for all the gear I reviewed this year, plus a rundown of the gear. And I like doing that video because I think it answers all the questions hopefully that matter, which is, did I really like it still? Because that's a lot of times like, was it in the moment, or was it really like, what do you call it? Like, did a company send it to you and they want it back? And did I end up buying it? Because sometimes that happens. And then sometimes, the company left it with me. Did I sell it? So I go through all that stuff. But I will tell you the funny thing about this is my favorite thing, the thing that I thought about. So when I saw that question earlier, I thought, what's my favorite thing? The first thing that came to my mind was the aux. And so I looked and I had rated the aux as basically is number one, but it was a kind of a tie between that and the Bad Cat 40. So this year, I would honestly say, which is interesting. The Bad Cat 40, I don't think is a hard thing to understand. I reviewed a lot of good amps this year, but as you guys know, I did the Engel Iron Ball 2, which was fantastic amp. But as you guys know, I loved it, but not as much as my Fireball. But the Bad Cat, I really love that amp. But man, the thing that really kind of I liked and enjoyed the most was the aux. Isn't that funny? And like I said, I just did a video, if you guys saw this week, where I compared the aux with the Captor X and the Iron Man from Tone King. And, I talk about how basically Captor is kind of, in my opinion, slightly better in a lot of ways, right? I mean, there's different products for different people. But I got to tell you, the aux, it's a product. And again, like I said, in hindsight of the video, you make the video, but then like I said, we'll do the follow-up video when I do the year in review. The aux, the issue is, I can tell you right now, it's very expensive and it has a couple shortcomings. And because of that, I'm going to say a reviewer, as someone who's trying to give you information to help make a better educated purchase, I wanted to kind of highlight those issues. However, I still like it. I can't explain why. I just like it. Even though I really think the Captor's better, I just like it. I like not only how it works, I like everything about it. Overall, besides a couple of issues, but I like where I get. Does that make sense? I like what it does, and it also opened me up to new ideas and new ways of doing things, and it was really fun. So that would be my favorite. That thing that probably gave me the most joy playing with it. Let's see. Okay, hold on a second. Okay, let me go here, refresh this, take a sip of vodka. One of these shows, it will really be vodka. I tried doing it. Remember, I drank a beer show, and I actually, if you guys didn't realize, I was getting hammered, and it was really weird. Usually a beer is not going to do it for me, but man, that show, for some reason, a beer in, I was having trouble focusing. Dale says, is the preamp, okay, is there a preamp or something to put in a guitar cavity to make a passive pickup sound like an active pickup? Thanks. Love the show, Dale. Yes, the Blackout, there's a Seymour Duncan makes a pickup called the Blackout, which is kind of like their version of an EMG. And I actually think they sound like the older EMG 8185s that I kind of like better than the newer EMG 8185s version. And they make a preamp called the Blackout, and it's all like super easy. Well, it's not super easy, but it doesn't require a lot of soldering. It all clips in, and you can turn any passive pickups into actives. And it does, in my opinion, 75% of the way there. You're going to get there. You're going to get all the things you like about active pickups. And that's something I like. I mean, EMG makes something called the Afterburner, and it's like a boost. It's not the same thing in my opinion. The Blackout preamp is exactly what you're looking for. So this is something you're looking for, it's going to look for. However, what I want to tell you is there's a good and a bad. Dave Mustaine, they make some Dave Mustaine pickups. I think they still do, which are active, but are also kind of like traditional Alnico pickups. And that's important because your Blackout preamp that you add to your traditional pickups are going to sound more like the Dave Mustaine pickups, in my opinion, than they will just active pickups. Because part of the thing that makes active pickups do what they do isn't just that they have a battery-powered preamp. It's also they usually have a very low, the pickups are very low in the magnetic field. In other words, there's not a strong magnetic field, and usually a lot less windings on those pickups. And that's usually, you can't see that because if you're going to try to meter them, you're going to meter them with power. And so what happens is the magic of active pickups are that they have the smaller magnetic field, or the lighter magnetic field, I should say. The word is lighter would definitely be better. Causes less interference with the string and adds more sustain, because that's what it does. And also allows the pickup to have a slightly different tone. But of course, because it's so weak, they use the preamp to boost that signal up and send it out of the guitar. And so that's what's great. The Blackout preamp will do that, but of course, with a little bit different kind of magic. So I'm just letting you know, it's going to do what you want. I would recommend it. However, it'll be 75% there of an active pickup, and it might actually be better depending on how you look at it. Depends on what your needs are. Rusty Shackleford did a super chat, and don't worry, Rusty, I got you covered, man. I saw that you posted. You're like, I didn't post my question, and then I grabbed it. So let me find it, Rusty. Let me find it. Rusty's question was, whoops, I forgot to type my question. No, I'm just kidding. He said, Phil, what method do you recommend to roll fretboard edges on a maple neck with stainless steel frets? There are a ton of methods you can use to roll fretboard edges. I have unfortunately, no brush stroke that I can just say, do this. I'd need to know if there was finish on that maple fretboard. I need to know how hard the edge is and what we're doing to it. And also how old the fretboard is. Here's why. There's, again, what would I do in my shop with all the tools and everything at my disposal? Pretty much whatever I want. But what should you do? Part of the thing is, if there's finish on it, I wouldn't even recommend you try it without seriously watching some kind of content and trying to get an understanding of it. If there's no finish on it and the neck is not relatively old, in other words, it hasn't discolored a lot, you can even sand it lightly. You can round the edges that way. You can use, some people will tell you to use a stick. Basically, you can use like a shaft of a screwdriver or a stick and kind of run it on the sides and kind of smush it and roll it over that way. I'm not a big fan of that. How I usually do it is I use a sanding block and shave it over. And then, but again, it depends on what kind of finish I'm dealing with, what I'm dealing with. So, I will tell you this, if it's a guitar you like and it's not relatively inexpensive, I would take it to somebody. Otherwise, in your case, if it's something you think you can try because it's not a super expensive guitar and you don't really care, or maybe you're into the Van Halen thing, I would sand them. Just take a sanding block and some kind of fine sandpaper. Anything, I would do 400, right? Anything above that, maybe 350 is the lowest I would go. And you can do that. And then you're going to have to pre-polish and do all your frets. And again, this is tough because it's a podcast and I'm just saying things. And if I had stuff and I was showing you in a video, it would be a totally different, kind of experience. So I'm just brush stroking this, in other words. I'm just giving the idea where to start to look, not to actually just say do that. Antique Rocker says, I love the stocking stuffer video. Just bought 2 rechargeable Snarks. What happened to it? Did you recommend the capo? Thank you, Antique Rocker. Yeah. So like I mentioned earlier in the show, when I do videos, the patrons get sometimes when I can, they get the preview when I want feedback. I gave them that video for a preview. It comes out like tomorrow, the next day. It's a stocking stuffer idea video and something more fun. I just want to let you guys know it was really just I had a crap week. Nothing horrible. Okay. Nothing horrible. I don't want anybody to worry. Nothing serious happened. The only thing happened this week that was negative was I basically every time I turn around, something was costing me money. And that puts you in a mood over time, right? You're like, you know how it works. Some of you guys out there, guys mean people out there will know what I'm talking about when you're like, everybody's coming at you with like, oh, and I need this, and this is going to cost that, and this is going to this, and now this happened, and now this has to be fixed, and now this is going to cost, and you're okay. I'm always okay with it, but then after a while, like, man, that was a lot. So anyways, I decided, I'm like, okay, I want to kind of do a video a little funner. So this video is more fun. You'll see it's got a satire kind of vibe to it and going over some products. I'm glad you enjoyed it, but yeah, I took it down because I have to I finish editing it and doing stuff, and then it'll go out. But yeah, you got a preview of it. And I'm glad you liked it. I had a ton of fun, and that tuner is freaking amazing. So literally the next question, Litface, did I see a gold telly in the stocking stuffer video? You did. It's actually in the background of this, the live shows too, but different cameras, different lighting may look different. Somebody sent me a question today asking me if it was graffiti yellow, and it's actually gold. It's a Shiji telly. I've had the Shiji telly for a little while now, and I've put it through its paces. As you guys know, I had a Shiji guitar. I told you I got rid of that Strat style Shiji to get the telly. I got the telly. I really like it. Obviously, the video is going to be. The question is not whether or not I like it. The question is they've gone up so much in price, and that really drives. There's a thing going on now. It's really crazy. Okay, and I don't even know how to explain this craziness. It's like everything guitar related in that has anything to do with China is going to extremes. And what I mean by that is every time I'm talking to any companies that are guitars in China, everything is either dropping price again. Like, in other words, like if you thought Donner and Glary were inexpensive, there's new companies and even they're more inexpensive. And you're like, this is crazy. And then on the other side of that, there's guitar companies now. I have talked to 3 companies now in the last 30 days that, they send you emails and I talk to them back and forth, and they're made in China, essentially Strats for $1,500 to almost $2,000. And this is something that, and there's a lot of explanation of why and the whole thing behind it, but man, I don't know. It seems really strange. I'm sure a lot of you guys, I start everything with curiosity. So I know a lot of you guys go right to the screw this and I wouldn't do that, or no way, right? But I like to know why, what's going on? You know what I mean? And if again, kind of like when I said my week about people coming to me with money, the money issues, it's kind of like if I saw something once, I go, it happens. But when you see multiple levels of it, and you know what? And I try not to go down these tears too much, but like Slade just said, China ain't getting any dime from me. But see, this is the important part of these conversations. I like to have a broader conversation. And again, I have to just tell you again, I find politics very uninteresting. So it's not that I'm trying to be non-political. I just don't really give a crap. So that's not where I'm going with this. What I'm going with this is in my experiences traveling and going to factories, there's almost like no factory not making something with China. Like I said, I love it when, and again, I'm just presenting an idea. Somebody will say, I won't buy a guitar made in China. And they'll go, yeah, but your American guitar had paint that came from China. And to you, I'm not arguing, I'm just explaining. To you, that guitar is not China then? So again, what percentage of the guitar has to be China? I'm not saying you should buy guitars in China. What I'm saying is, I love it when somebody goes, oh, this guitar came from Indonesia. And I'm like, well, I went to that factory and guess what? They were buying all their parts from China. They were assembling them in Indonesia. Assembled in America isn't the only place that happens. there is also assembled in Indonesia and assembled in Korea from mostly Chinese parts. So again, it's not that I'm saying that justifies anything. I'm saying that what I've been experiencing, me personally, for the last 5 years, and even longer, but I just want to get to the 5-year mark, is that this is happening in the weirdest way. There's people who are specifically focused on if it says made in China, they don't want to deal with it, which is fine. But if it doesn't say it and it has mostly Chinese stuff in it, then they're okay with it because they seem to be like, you seem to not be. So I'm more interested in why these things are happening, because to me, if a made in China guitar becomes $1,500, you understand that means that the other guitars that are going to be made with those Chinese parts and then other expenses added to them are going to become very much more expensive. So that's why I said I kind of go to everything with curiosity. I'm curious. Why this? Are you just doing this to see if you can get away with it, or is there legitimate circumstances to it? Again, this isn't to say pro or against doing anything. It's just more of a kind of understanding. I want to see. You know what I mean? Hold on a second. Yeah, and I'm not going to read some comments, but a lot of your comments are conveying the same thing, that a lot of, it's, again, I always, like I said, I've said this before, I'll keep saying it again, just so you know, you understand, like, when you buy from Gibson, you buy from Fender, you buy from Paul Reed Smith, and I don't want to just pick on them. I mean, I named tons of other companies. When you buy those made in the USA guitars, two things are happening. Some of those guitars do have import made in China and other places, but I know that usually the focus is China. Parts in them, or materials, because again, it's not just about that the pickups are made there. It could be literally the materials for the pickups are made there. See how funny this is? Like, as you guys know, I make my own pickups, and like I said, I'll chuckle when somebody goes, "This pickup's made in the USA," but it's literally made from all Chinese copper wire, Chinese bobbins, Chinese everything. It was just wound and sorted here, and they're okay with that. But then they're not okay with a made in China pickup that's a quarter the price. And again, I'm not saying, I'm not saying anything. I'm just kind of giving you the information. But what's funny about all this is those companies, like I tell you guys all the time, I mean, if you look at Fender as a perfect example, Fender sells more than just guitars and amps. They are huge accessory divisions, huge, massive. Their accessory division is bigger than most companies. Guitar stands, tuners, picks, strings, cables, and massive amounts of that stuff literally come from China. So when you buy a US guitar, you could say, okay, I'm supporting that. But sometimes I always have to ask, again, just ask, are you? Because they took that money and they literally spent it on doubling down on the import stuff. So again, that's why like I said, I like to go with the mindset of curiosity, not just upsetness, right? I want to know why. So there you go. I think curiosity is a good thing. So. Yeah, I just go, since we're down this road, let's go with it. Yash says, brands should label their products made in China, assembled in the USA. I 100% agree. Essentially, I know it's crazy, and again, it's more costs, more bureaucracy, more crap, more stuff to deal with. But man, sometimes I do kind of feel like, wouldn't it be nice if there was an ingredients list in a product? You know what I mean? Again, I'm not trying to like add more, government interference and more costs into everything. But it's sometimes like, I don't even care where it's assembled or where it's made. Just tell me where all the components were, right? A lot of you, again, there's a lot of people around the world watching the podcast. In the US, when you buy a car, it's very common when you buy the car, I don't care if it's a Honda or it's a Chevy, it says like engine made in Mexico, transmission made in Japan, right? Like you buy a Honda, and again, I'm not saying this is the exact things because I can't remember what they said when I bought the Honda for my daughter, but I remember it was like engine made in Japan, transmission made in Mexico, body made in like Michigan. You know what I mean? Like it told you where everything was coming from. That's really what I want. I don't care. Don't tell me where it's made. Tell me what the ingredients are. And then I'll decide from there what it is the hell I'm buying. Right. So again, it's kind of funny. So I don't know. Like I said, just a thought, but I don't know. So the sad thing is I could say something like that. And then next thing you know, it probably, creates a nightmare of bureaucracy and red tape. But I think it'd be fun. Not fun. I think it would be more fair if I just, if you could just look and see where that would tell you where your dollars are going for the most part. So on that note, let's jump off that subject because that's not all about guitar. Okay, but so a lot of $1,500 made in China guitars out there now. So if you haven't seen them, they're coming because it seems like they seemed really interested in getting those guitars out in front of people. I didn't take any of those deals, but at least I interact with them to find out what was going on. Thomas says, hey, have you tried the Tajima 500? I have. I did a video with Marty Schwartz. It's on his channel. Basically, that's the same model or model like that. The Tajima deal was really interesting. As you guys know, I found Tajimas with Marty Schwartz in a small music store in San Diego. We bought the guitar. Marty bought it physically. And then he sent the guitar to me. I did a sharpen my axe with it, sent it back to him. I think he still owns and plays it. I don't know. I'm pretty sure he does, but I don't know. I haven't talked to him about it in recent, so I don't know. And then I liked it so much, I bought a Tajima, but I bought a Brazilian one. And then from then, Tajima stopped me at the NAMM show and said, hey man, we really like your videos. And this is where it goes sideways. So, and again, I just upfront with everybody about all the stuff that goes down. They were very nice. They said, hey, we liked your videos. Thank you for all that, support. We would like to help your channel, sponsor your channel. And I said, great. I said, how you can help me is I like the guitars. The audience seems to like the guitars. And so if we could get more of the guitars on the channel, that'd be great. And then I let them know what guitars I was interested in. And I've said this before and I'll say it again. They, like a lot of companies, they don't care what I want or what you want. They just want to focus. They just want to send me certain products. And what ended up happening over time, and just so you guys know what happens, over time, that always puts me off. So, it always puts me off when I'm, again, I'm a nobody, right? I got this YouTube thing. I'm not trying to come across as anything other than that. However, it's my time as well. You know what I mean? I understand it's like my time. I got to invest in this. And I also know you guys, as we know, a lot of us hang out, and you guys are a microcosm of the bigger views of the channel, but still you're the microcosm. I know what the channel generally wants because you guys are essentially the channel. And I know what you're interested in, not interested in. And so it's always a tough thing when a company's just like, yeah, why don't you just talk about these? And I'm like, well, those aren't the ones I'm interested in. I'm actually interested in these. And I think the audience would really be interested in those Tajimas. And because I think deep down, what I think everybody's looking for with that kind of brand is one of two things. You're either looking for how good is their inexpensive Squier type instrument? Is there a better value there than maybe Squire's giving you or some other name brand? And so that's a great product to talk about. Or their mid-price stuff where it's like, are you getting a lot for this price? In other words, are they putting out a $600 guitar that rivals $1,200, $1,500 guitars? And I think those are interesting guitars to talk about. That's not what they were interested in sending me. So I don't know what else to do. So, so there's your answer. I like Tajima. I still like Tajima, but that's why you haven't seen it anymore on the channel. That kind of just like, I'm just, and I do my best and I try to convey that to the companies when I'm like, hey, look, if you guys are sending out this product and you want me to kind of talk about it, it's great, but I'd really like to talk about the products that I thought the audience or I was interested in too. And then they're like, nah. Actually, they don't do that. Everybody does the same answer, by the way, all companies. They just don't respond to you on those questions. They respond on the things they want and they don't on the others. So again, that's what happened. I still like the products and I met the owner. He seemed like the nicest guy. But as a company, I don't think they, and I think also it was conveyed to me very, very upfront, by the way, so I should put this out, that they were in the boom, of course, the guitar boom, and they were killing it, and they really don't need any kind of promotion. You know what I mean? That's kind of how that was conveyed to me is, you know, a lot of companies were pretty upfront, as you guys know, for the last 2 years with a lot of the channels, including myself, as when you talk to them going, hey, I'd like to get one of your guitars on the channel and talk about it. And they were like, you know, we're selling guitars so much, we don't need anything. Have a nice day. So that's why you don't see a lot of stuff too. Which is why I bought so many damn guitars in the last year to review on the channel. Jeff says, new guitar day. Awesome, buddy. Good to hear it. What? Well, gets here Monday. So it's not really a new guitar day, is it? It says Ibanez J Custom HSS. Ibanez only pickups, limited edition DiMarzio Black Velvet, humbucker, Black Velvet singles, not true velvet. Any idea of the tones? I don't know. I don't know what that is. I don't know what you're saying. You're saying limited edition DiMarzio Black Velvet humbucker. Okay. Black Velvet singles, not true velvet. Okay. So is there different ones? I mean, I'm not versed in all the pickups, so I don't know. Any idea on the tones? I don't know. I do know this. Larry DiMarzio and the DiMarzio people, I should say, besides Larry, are very involved in the companies they work with. That's why they don't work with so many. I mean, if you guys see, look, DiMarzio is a different thing than Seymour Duncan. They all both have their benefits, but they are wired differently as companies and their philosophies. DiMarzio, as I've told you guys this before, no import pickups. DiMarzio only does USA pickups. Okay. Even IBZ pickups, which are Ibanez that say IBZ DiMarzio, those are made in the USA too. Okay. He doesn't do a subline of pickups, and he doesn't do the authorized thing where he's like, okay, make a pickup like mine and, you know, whatever, call it something else. Nothing wrong with that deal. I'm just telling you that's how he's wired. Okay. As a company, it comes from the top down kind of concept. The other thing is he's intimately involved in working with those companies to give you a great. I don't think this is a secret of any of any kind. I don't think I'll get any grief for telling you guys this. I'm sure it's out there somewhere. Hold on a second. Okay, so basically when DiMarzio did the pickups for the Music Man guitar for Eddie Van Halen, they won, right? That was a thing that they had to win, right? In other words, Eddie Van Halen wanted different pickups, and they had Seymour Duncan and I'm sure other brands, and DiMarzio ended up winning, and that's what went into the Music Man Access, which was the Eddie Van Halen guitar. When Eddie left Music Man to go to Peavey, Eddie's manager or whatever, and Eddie's team contacted DiMarzio and said, we want you to make the pickups for the Peaveys. We're going to Peavey now. And DiMarzio's like, great. And they go, but you can't sell pickups anymore to Music Man. Now, what's important about that is, to this day, if you buy the Music Man Access, the current one, the USA one, it is the same pickups that it was the day it started when it was with Eddie Van Halen. So even though it's not the signature Eddie Van Halen model, it's still the same pickups they made because they made a deal with Ernie Ball to sell them those pickups. What DiMarzio told Eddie's team was, we love you guys. We want to come to Peavey, but we're not going to stop selling pickups to Music Man because we didn't make an agreement with you to sell pickups to you. We made the agreement with Music Man, and we honored those agreements, and that's why they stayed in Music Man. And that's probably why Music Man uses DiMarzio so much to this day, because you can see this a lot. When you see Music Man and you see Ibanez, what I see those companies pretty much using DiMarzio a lot. Less with Ibanez now because they're kind of doing other stuff too, but you see a lot. So my answer to your question is, I don't know officially what's the difference about those tones, but I will tell you that Ibanez and DiMarzio do work together. I mean, literally, they work together on all those individual guitar projects. There's like a feedback about finding the right pickups, the right guitars. They put a lot of time in it. And if any of you want to say, because I know I always can predict some of the negative comments, they're going to say, well, Ibanez sound like crap. Well, let me tell you this. If it sounded like crap, I can tell you this. They intended it for it to sound however it sounds. If you don't like it, you don't like it. But I really believe they intended it to do that way. So there you go. I hope that helps. Kindle from Bensonite Products. Hey man, what's up? Says, happy Friday, Phil. Recently bought a Tone King Iron Man 2 Mini for my deluxe reverb. I don't have a question. I'm just loving it and want to say, I'm glad you like it. You know, that's a great attenuator. I really wish I bought the mini. Like I said, I bought the 100-watt one because I was like, oh, for the channel, it'll probably make more sense. But deep down, the mini, I think the mini's, if you don't need more than the 30 watts, the mini is better because you don't have to plug it in to get it to, you know, to work. That's one of the things that's great about the mini is that if you don't want the solo feature, you don't have to plug it in the wall. And that's one thing I liked about the Reverb Rock Crusher. That's one thing I liked about some of the attenuators that you don't have to plug in the wall. It's because to me, it's like that adds another step to the process. Now I got to plug in the amp, hook up the amp to the attenuator, now plug the attenuator wall, I need another outlet. It's just more stuff to deal with. So I kind of like that you don't have to do that on the mini Iron Man. And then that brings me to somebody, you know, and here's why. Somebody asked a question earlier and I grabbed it, but it really connects to this question. So let me see if I can find it. The question came from Witchell, who said, Phil, can you review a Boss Waza tube amp expander? Okay, so I borrowed a Waza tube amp expander about a year ago from a buddy. I had it for about 2 days. It was very limited use, so I want to be very clear that I did not have a lot of time with it. It was kind of like he got one and he's like, hey, you want to check it out? And actually, just so we're very clear about all this, he actually got it. He didn't like it and he wanted to get my input on it. And so I was like, all right, I'll check it out. Though the Baza, which is what they should now call the Waza stuff, Baza, the Waza Craft tube expander. When I did the video this week of the captor versus the aux, and then of course I threw in that you can do the Iron Man Tone King stuff. A lot of comments about the Waza tube expander and the Fryette unit. And I personally, I've tried them both and I preferred the Fryette to the Waza, it kinda. And when I say kinda is, again, I don't have an attitude of like those products are not good and this product is good. It's not what I'm saying. It's about what needs does it fill. I don't have a need that the Waza or the Fryette would fill. How they work differently than the other units. So how the Waza works, which is very important to understand, is you plug your amp into the Waza and then it has a solid state Class D power amp in it that then goes out to your cabinet. And I'm sure it's great. Okay. I'm sure it sounds great. The effects were okay. There were some things I liked about it. Again, I'm a Boss fan. However, and again, same with the Fryette, which the Fryette's different because it uses a 2 power section. So again, you're plugging your amp into that and then it's outputting its power section into the cabinet. And those are great. But for me and my needs, I would just use the Kemper or something like that. I would just use, because the Kemper has a powered section too. One of the things I don't like about the Kemper's power section, I'm not real big on the way it sounds. I love the, well, I don't say I would love it. I use the Kemper. I told you I had an XFX and I had a Kemper for a while and the Helix and all that stuff. And the Kemper, one of the things I liked is that you can get a powered one. And so you can just power the cabinet. And the power section is probably the weakest thing for me, in my opinion, on that unit. And so to me, those things, if I'm not using the whole amp, and to some degree, I kind of just feel a little disconnected from it. Not that it was bad or good. So that's my answer on that. And that's why I didn't compare them in that video, because to me, they're different products. They do the same thing, but a totally different way. And that needs to be kind of explained to somebody. I think that might be a thing. There you go. Swift Vic says, I have a Boss Katana. Do I need to upgrade my speaker? Is it overkill? I did it on my back to Waza. My Katana, I kind of changed out the speakers. Remember I told you I thought about doing a video, hey, change out the speakers in the Katana. Which one's the best? And the original was the best. My guess is because that's kind of how a lot of that stuff works, if you think about it, right? Those things create the sound. They're not part of it. It's not part, like in a tube amp, let's just stick to 2 amps. A lot of times a tube amp is one part of the equation. And the speaker and the cabinet are another part of that equation for its ultimate sound, right? So in other words, like to me, a Plexi without having a vintage 30, not a vintage 30, sorry, a greenback or a creamback is a different vibing amp than it was with a vintage 30. I think a lot of times the modeling technology amps, to some degree, they're just designed to kind of have a reference speaker. So I think that speaker is probably more like a PA speaker and less like a guitar speaker. I could be totally wrong. I'm just giving you my vibe of what I thought I heard. And when I put guitar speakers in the Waza, I got a couple things that sound a little better, but I got a lot of things that sound a lot worse. And I was like, okay, and that's the problem. If you change out the speaker, you're going to have to play for hours through all the settings to figure out what it ruined and what it made. And I think just keep it easy. So to me, if you're going to do that, I would just jump out onto another speaker cabinet and power another speaker cabinet with it. I'm not telling you to do that, but that's what I would do. It won't be worth your time to change out the speaker. But I would love, again, if anyone has changed the speaker successfully in the Waza and loved it, put that in the comments, right? It's good feedback to get from everyone. Dawn says, hey, Phil, I just bought a Fender Player Stratocaster from Sweetwater and had them Plek it. What is your opinion about Plekking guitars? I don't know. I'm just kidding. We're going to get there in a second. Is it worth doing? It's getting delivered on Sunday. I Pleked this Squire Affinity at Sweetwater over a year and a half ago. I did the 6-month update video. So, Dawn, if you Google Squire Pleked or Sweetwater Pleked, McKnight, Pleked, any of that stuff, it'll come up exactly like you. I was curious, you know what I mean? Will it work? You did a Fender Player, which is a much nicer guitar than this Affinity. What I will tell you is every single person, again, this is not proof of anything, okay? One, like I've always said over and over again, one review is not all reviews. One thought is not all thoughts, kind of thing. But every single person's comment on my videos on that guitar that were negative were the same one, which was like, yes, but in a year the frets will sprout and the guitar that guitar plays perfect. I've never done anything that guitar is perfect. I have heard people say in the comments they got guitars Pleked and it wasn't great. That's absolutely true, and it can absolutely happen because a Plek is just a computerized, for the lack of a better explanation, it's a computerized Luthier tech setup. And just like tech can do a crappy job, the person running the Plek or that day could be a bad job. So yeah, you could get a bad Plek just like you could get a bad setup. That's common. What Pleks are supposed to be doing is cutting down on that equation. In other words, maybe 9 out of 10 times it's a perfect setup, where a human would do it maybe 8 out of 10 times or something, 7 out of 10 times, whatever the number is. So, I like this. Love it when somebody says, they'll say to me, especially friends, will say, hey, do you think a Plek is as good as a good tech? And I go, that's not the question. The question is a Plek, and for me, the question is a Plek better than a tech on a bad day? You know what I mean? And that's what I think the answer is yes. I think that on a bad day, of course it'll win because it doesn't have a bad day. It's a machine. So I think I personally think if you gave me a guitar and I'd do this. I don't know how you do it. I mean, I would love to do it at Sweetwater or something, but I love for somebody to give me a guitar and give the Plek, give guy Plek guitar, let us both work on the guitars and do a setup and have everybody play it. And say, I know I'm going to win. It's like, what's the old story when we're kids? The guy chopping wood versus the machine, right? Is that a thing, right? Paul Bunyan, is it Paul Bunyan? I always think of the bounty towel guy, right? The bounty towels. But anyways, Paul Bunyan thing, right? Can I beat the machine? Sure. But I would bring my A game. I would be working extra hard, polishing extra hard. I mean, I would bring it and I would win. And maybe if I don't, that really tells you something. But if I do win, it really doesn't tell you anything, because all it tells you is that if I bring my A game and my energy, can I do it? Yes. But the question is, am I that every single time? I try to be, but like all of you have jobs, everybody knows. Sometimes some people get your B line work and some people get your A line work, and I try to give everybody the A work. But it happens, right? Sometimes you're not aware of it. I find that's the biggest problem. A lot of times when I'm giving B grade work, it's like, I thought I was doing a good job, but maybe I wasn't there. Maybe I wasn't focused right. So I try to do that way. Ellen says to please make sure you give a thumbs up because it pisses off the YouTube algorithm. I'm not kidding. I wish I was kidding now. You understand, like YouTube is trying to, I'm going to give you some insight and then we'll get back to guitars. Just 1 second. Give me like 20-second platform, little soapbox here. You understand YouTube's trying to kill all of us, the independent stuff. When I say us, I don't mean me and YouTubers like me. I mean, you guys, think about this. YouTube has done nothing, right? Nothing to improve or enhance the live interaction system that we have now. I have no features in which to make this show better. I would love it if I could have moderators that can actually grab your questions and put them in a queue for me. And therefore, I'm not just randomly picking you guys and missing some people. I would love to have this interaction system improved in a lot of ways. There's 1,000 things they can do to make this system better. And you guys are here every week. There's 1,023 of us. We're here every Friday. We're hanging out. This is our thing. We want to do it. There are thousands of YouTubers on YouTube right now across the platform in all genres doing this stuff. I saw a YouTuber that had 300,000 subscribers like me. They had 4,000 people live. It was for comic book stuff, but still, it was like just crazy. And they had the same complaints I did, which is, how do I want to make this experience better for my audience, and YouTube doesn't care. And the reason is because YouTube's focused on Jimmy Kimmel and making sure Will Smith gets all the clicks he can get and all that stuff. And I'm not here to complain about that. What I'm trying to tell you guys is that sometimes I want you to be aware, not only do you have to help the channels with 1,000 subs and 500 subs and 200 subs, but help all the channels that you like that are independent. And if that means giving a thumbs up or making a comment, again, you don't have to do it financially. It does help a little. And I want you to be aware of something. It only helps a little. And that's what I want. And that's why this is insurmountable. If you guys there's 1,000 of you, I got 1,000 thumbs up. In fact, to prove it to you, do it. I know it's a great way where I'm trying to con you into the idea, but I'm actually trying to prove something to you. If I got 1,000 likes on this video, next week, I would barely have 1 to 2% more average views than I normally get. That's what it does. You guys interacting with the videos increases it by just a small amount. That's why it's more important to do it now. You don't have to do it. It's not telling you guys to do it, but make sure that you're supporting the channels you want to help. That's what I'm basically getting at. There you go. On that note. Okay. Joe's question is, Phil, love the show. I thank you, man, for that. Appreciate that. I have a 1974 Rickenbacker 4001 and a 2020 4003. The dual truss rods scare me a bit. It's a wacky thing, man. There's nothing wrong to be scared about. They are wacky, and I have seen only one, and I want to add to the fear, but I'll add to the fear and then I'll get you out of there. I saw someone who said they were a tech once strip the crap out of them because they'd never seen them before. Recommendations on adjusting the neck and keeping it straight. Well, I've never done a video on that because it's not something I've had since I've been doing YouTube to have on the, the last couple I did were 10 years ago. Just not a lot of people with those, those bases. So I would say check that out first. It's not that hard. It's not like a big deal. It's like anything on a truss rod. You make small adjustments and you make sure you have the right tools. Keep in mind, I always say this and I always remind you, and this is why I said I'll scare you and then I'll take you out of it. The term that you should always be familiar with when it comes to truss rods is stripping a truss rod. Breaking a truss rod is a term that I hate. Very rarely, and I mean very rarely, like almost non-existent, do you break a truss rod. The idea that you somehow crack the truss rod is just insane. It's not a viable concern to have. The biggest concern is to strip the truss rod. Stripping the truss rod does not happen because in 90% of the time, you don't strip the truss rod because you keep cranking on it. You're like, I just keep cranking until it, and then when it can't turn anymore, you just keep going. You strip it because you're using the wrong tool. Wrong tools are this, and it's not even always your fault. Once someone that had the instrument before you uses the wrong tool, they put you down the road that you got to deal with, which is your truss rod nut or Allen socket is screwed because it's stripped a little bit, right? Then add all the new cheapness and metals and all the other problems you can have. You're just compounding it. But so make sure you use the right tool. And Also, before you use the right tool that you're 100% sure of, also make sure that you inspect it to make sure that no one's damaged it, slightly stripped it, screwed it up in any way. And if they have, don't worry, it's just going to cost you a little bit because you're going to have to go online and search for the tools that will take care of it. In other words, there's tools you can buy that will help that problem. For instance, I'm not saying for this particular issue because it's not really what you need, but they have like tapered Allen wrenches and stuff like that. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff out there that fixes all kinds of problems, but that's the big thing that you have to pay attention to. And then, like I said, but if you do little micro turns and go slow and steady, there's almost very little you can do to damage a guitar neck. Again, I'm not going to say nothing because you can, but it's not the fear everybody should have. No one should have truss rod fear. Kevin says Musicnomad has an entire website for what type of wrench you need and truss rod. Yes, they have a drop-down menu truss rod finder, and they have a kit. I'm only mentioning that because they give the truss rod finder service absolutely free. You don't have to buy anything from Musicnomad to use it, or you can buy their kit for $60 that goes with that. In fact, if you watch my stocking video when it comes out, I use that kit in that video because I absolutely love the kit. I think, of course, hold on, I'm pouring more vodka. Maybe that's a pleasing sound. Okay, so I think $60 for a bunch of Allen wrenches is kind of psychotic. But I know, in my opinion, I know that a lot of that cost is also they did the resources, they did the work, and you get to take advantage of the resources without having to pay them. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm just letting you know, if you want to buy the kit, you're supporting them, and it's a good kit. Yeah, Weedy Guitar Studio says, depends on the... Oh, wait. Nope, back. Sorry. It jumped. I was reading one and it jumped. Okay, hold on. I'm sorry. I was looking for the question. Somebody was giving you a suggestion. And they were saying basically do one side and then the other. And that's how I remember doing it. But again, that was 10 years ago. But again, seems twice as hard because it has twice as many, but it's not. Just, again, make an adjustment, make the other adjustment. Also, like I said, try to find some reference material. You can find it. The internet's out there. You can find a manual on it. You can find a video on it. You'll find something, and you can literally read and go, okay, there's got to be somebody out there giving you a step process. I'm pretty sure when I did it, that's what I did. It was 10 years ago, and you still could do that back then, obviously. I probably pulled up some kind of resource material, followed it, and just did it. Happy Friday. He says, Grumpy Mike says, happy Friday. Hope the lovely Mrs. McKnight is doing well. Please send her my best regards. She's doing well. She had MRI today, and that was one of the things that happened this week. Now, again, not bad. I have a lot of nice guitars. Life is good. I'm telling you guys because I don't want to you guys to go into super chat crazy. Sometimes that's not what this is about. Trust me. If you see me selling a couple guitars, then maybe if you want to throw some super chats for my troubles, I would appreciate it. But what I'm about to tell you is what happened was I told you they think it's something is wrong in her neck, a pinched nerve or something is causing the headaches and all this stuff. So they ordered MRI of her neck and head, and of course the insurance company won't pay for the head. And so my wife's a little nervous because now she's got to sit in this MRI machine for an hour and a half, and they're only going to do the neck. And so I said, well, call them up and ask them how much it is to pay it out of pocket. It wasn't that bad. I mean, it was a nice, decent guitar, nice amp, something like that. But so we paid for that. And again, that wasn't the issue this week. That was just one more, okay, we'll pay for that, no problem. But so the good news is she got the MRIs done on, for head and neck, and we'll know something next week if it's whatever the problem is, and they can hopefully fix it. And there you go. And so, the insurance company, if we would have fought it, I guess, and we would have went back and forth, we probably could have got them to prove it. But here's the issue. Any of you who has a loved one at this point, you guys all know just as well as I do, the peace of mind is worth everything. So she just wants to know what's going on, what's causing this. So we have to pay out of pocket, and instead of waiting a month or whatever for the insurance to push it back, that's what we did it. But Sleeping Audi says, Phil, no, you can negotiate the price. Yeah, look, man, I have been a small business owner 15 years. I appreciate that. And it's a good reminder because I tell everybody, absolutely. So, we are wired as a small business because we have insurance, of course, but we don't have like cool corporate insurance. So not only do we negotiate, which she negotiated today too as well. Not only we negotiate, I won't even tell companies I have insurance sometimes until I get the price if I'm not insured, and then see which one's the better price. Because when I started my business in 2004, that was the first thing we had to give up was insurance. We had great insurance through my corporate job. And then we'd get Cobras for as long as you could tolerate. I think it runs. No, it doesn't run out. Just as long as we could tolerate, but it was expensive, obviously. And then at some point, we're like, okay, let's get insurance. And the insurance you get when you have a small business, your insurance is like, I don't know, it's insane. It's like $1,000 a month, and they have like a $20,000 deductible. So you're covering the first like $20,000 of every year, and so it doesn't cover anything that costs a lot. And so we learned like prescriptions, all that stuff. You have to negotiate. Yeah. So I'll negotiate anything for insurance. And it's a nightmare. I don't want to get on the subject, but it's a nightmare because like you go to get an x-ray, it'll crack you up. This is true story. I'm not making this up. We've had to have x-rays, and we were laughing going, she would call around and the answers were hilarious. They were like, somebody would be like, oh, it's $800. And she's like, okay. And she called the next place and they go, it's $80. And they go, oh, okay. And then she called the next place and they go, oh, we can't even tell you. And she's like, what do you mean you can't tell me? Yeah, we don't know until you do it. I mean, it was just the gamut of that you get is psychotic. So yes, great suggestion. And I appreciate you looking out for us. But yeah, we already do that. Yeah. Like I said, we have better insurance now. This is the best insurance we've had for the last couple of years than we've had in years. Yeah, just how you got to do it, man. It's one of the damn things. For those of you living outside the United States, now you can understand all this craziness. I know my friends from other countries are like, what do you mean? They don't know what I'm talking about. Buzz Wilson just gave me money for a coffee fund. That's awesome. I actually, I started drinking iced coffees, and I really shouldn't go on a tangent now because I got to stay focused. But what happened was I told you guys for my birthday in July, I got a new coffee maker. And one of the things it does espressos and cappuccinos and all that stuff. And so now I can do espresso shot in a ice glass, and then, a glass full of ice, throw in a little bit of cream, and get an iced coffee. It's fantastic. So I will put that to good use. And then D. Sharon said, happy Friday. Chris Goodwin says, here's some beer money. Man, beer and coffee to spend at Four Peaks or Twin Peaks, your choice. It'll be Four Peaks. Okay, so now I'm going to tell you guys, because I wanted to tell you last week, but the show went off the rails last week with all the internet stuff and everything else going crazy. So let me tell you the funny story. It goes like this. So you guys know, if you guys have been watching, you know the whole, took my wife to Twin Peaks when I meant to go to Four Peaks, and Twin Peaks is where they have girls in lingerie, and Four Peaks is where they have this beer that I like. And so last Saturday, my wife and daughter, we were out buying Christmas stuff, and they said, hey, do you want to go to Four Peaks so you can actually get your growler? And I'm like, yes, let's go. And so here's why this story is funny. So we went there, and if you guys follow the social media stuff, I don't post a lot of stuff, but I did post that I got a growler, and I got a pumpkin beer, which actually tasted like 1554. If you guys know that beer, it's one of my favorite beers. It's really dark. It's like a Guinness kind of thing, chocolatey kind of vibe. And then I got a Kilt Lifter growler. And here's why the story is funny. I was on a tirade and with my wife, and this is what it was. I was telling her, I said, I think I know what the problem was, that when I told the story to you guys about we went to Twin Peaks and the girls were in lingerie. I said, there's a saying I heard once and I loved it, and I must have heard it 20 years ago. And it was said, and the saying was, there's nothing as beautiful as a happy waitress. I don't know where I heard that. Some of you guys might know. I think it may be a comedian or somebody, maybe been from a TV show or movie. It just was nothing's more beautiful than a happy waitress. And for some of you guys may know what that means. To me, it means exactly that. It means there's just something about when somebody comes to take care of you, and it could be a waiter too, and they have this like, like they'll take care of you, like, what do you want to drink? Oh, by the way, if you're going to order that, like, how many times have you had this happen where somebody's like, you go to order something and they go, oh, by the way, if you order it this way, you save 10% or you get this, or, right. And they're giving you advice and you feel like they're happy, and they're in a good mood, and just makes the experience better. And so I was telling my wife that saying, and I said, it's funny. We were in that bar with all those girls in lingerie, and I don't remember any of them. Right. And the reason why this story connects is a couple days later, we went to this breakfast place, and we shared an omelet, and the waitress was amazing. And we both remember every detail about her. She had short blonde hair. She was really polite and super nice. I feel guilty. The tip, just because the 25% tip wasn't enough, because we shared an omelet. So I had to tip her more. And then my wife looked at the tip and she's like, oh, are you tipping? She was curious. Like, what are you tipping off? And I go, I don't know. I just feel like she deserves more than just 25% off an omelet and some coffees, and 25%. So what's funny was a couple days later, we're talking and we can vividly remember this happy waitress, and we can't remember the girl that was half naked, and which is probably not a big deal for my wife, but it was a big deal for me, because I'm thinking, why don't I remember the half naked girl as much as I remember the girl who was just in a good mood? So this is all before I went back to Four Peaks with my daughter and my wife that took me. This is why they took me, because I was telling my family, I said, if we were smart, we would open a restaurant called the Happy Waitress. And it would just be women, like 85-year-old women, 40-year-old women, 20-year-old women. I don't care. Just every age, every kind of person, right? No hot outfits. Just whatever it takes to keep them in a good mood, right? Treat them right. I said, think about this. If there was a place where you went and the service was just fantastic and everybody was in a good mood, I said, the only thing that would be bad is somebody would be like, hey, one of your friends would be like, want to go to the Happy Waitress? I'm like, oh man, I can't afford it, because we always tip so much, because you just leave such in a good mood. You gotta tip them so much. So basically, I was telling this is why my daughter and my wife took me to the Four Peaks. I was telling them, I said, here's what's missing. Everybody thinks, I guess, people want to see half-naked women serve you a beer, but really, I want to see a happy person serve me a beer, and I think that'd be better. So that's just my thing. I don't know if that's funny what I just said, but it's what happened. So they took me and I got my growlers, and the best part of the story was they told the waitress at Four Peaks my story, and she was also very nice and super awesome. And she was laughing that when they told her that we went to Twin Peaks thinking it was Four Peaks. But so she was kind enough, happy. She was kind enough to, whether she told the truth or lied, I don't care. I'm taking it. She told me that happens all the time. Don't worry about it. People go there thinking it's Four Peaks. So somebody says, you mean 80% naked? Whatever I said, you know what I mean. So, Matt says livable wages. Yeah, I understand that too. So, I have a friend who owns a couple restaurants, and I'm all for that too. Obviously it's important. You live in different places. Where I live, if you can get the hours, a waitress and a waiter can make good money. I have a couple friends that are waitresses, and like I said, I have a friend who owns a restaurant, and they make good money. They can. Here, at least. So, Richard said that was a long way around to get out of trouble with my wife. Get out of trouble with the wife. Yeah, I don't get in trouble. Like, trust me, she didn't care. I just thought it was kind of funny. So, David said they have to act happy to get a decent tip because waiters suck it in the U.S. Yeah, I mean, you know what I mean. Like I said, I just like the idea that I think, I guess what I want to say is a personality goes a long way, is what I'm trying to say. So, that's basically what I'm trying to say. It's weird to me. I think a personality is a very powerful thing. What was it? Jerry Seinfeld was talking about being a stand-up comedian and making people laugh, and he says the art of conversation. He goes, he's a conversationalist for a living. Obviously he tells stories and jokes. He says he feels like a blacksmith because no one knows how to talk anymore. So, I don't know. I thought that was, hopefully that was interesting. We'll get back to guitars now. Alan Sam's Music. What's up, Alan? He says, Phil, I have a new Telecaster type guitar and the input jack is really tight, hard to insert, remove the cable. Suggestions for fixing this? Sure, that happens a lot, especially on Tele style guitars, because especially if you have that compression cap in there, sometimes the cable gets, what it is, you know, you have your output jack itself and there's a, for lack of a better term, a bent arm pushing against the cable, and that's pushing against the side of the hole for the jack. So my best advice is to take it apart, and sometimes you have to kind of smooth all that in there. Sometimes because when they drilled it out, they just didn't kind of finish it out, make it look nice, and give you a little bit room. Or sometimes you can just get away with turning it different ways until it lines up correctly. Either way, it just needs to be adjusted and smoothed out. It's super easy thing to do, but it's really common, so you know. Curtis says, happy Friday, Phil. Dr. Z amps, in particular, the Z-Rec Junior. Any experience with this amp? Sounds like a mini train wreck circuit. Could be. Sweetwater carries them. Nudge, nudge, say no more. I have a Dr. Z Maz 18, and I've owned the Maz 38. Out of the Dr. Z series of amps, the Maz is what appealed to me because it's kind of like this Vox kind of thing going on. And that's what I kind of dug, is the thing. The Z-Rec, I don't think I've tried. I might have tried it. I've tried a lot of Dr. Z amps. If you guys remember Dr. Z, when they came out, they were super cheap. That was the thing. You could buy a Dr. Z for less than a Fender. Right? It was like crazy. And then they were slightly more than a Fender, but that was great because it was like a boutique thing for less, you know, for a little bit more than Fender. And now they're kind of priced heavy. So there you go. I would love to try a Z-Rec. Like I said, I like the Dr. Z stuff. But of all the ones I've tried, for me and my amps and what I use, I like the Maz 18 and the 38. So, you know, to me, I got the Maz 18, just to be clear. I got the Maz 18 because that's the one I found. I found one that I priced right. I would have preferred the Maz 38 head versus the Maz 18 head I got. But like I said, the one I found was it was in perfect condition. It came from Sweetwater, but it was used. So somebody had just bought it from Sweetwater, had it for about 4 or 5 months. Brand new box, brand new condition. I mean, it was literally brand new, and I got it for, like I said, this is pre-COVID. So, I mean, I got it for probably 40%, 40% off new, maybe more. So it was great. And it's not a big deal. The 38 will just give you a higher clean headroom, which is nice. Voodoo Fist says, hey, Phil, after watching your attenuator video this week, I'm looking at buying the Tone King Ironman 30 Mini watt for all my amps. Can I use it with a 112 combo? You can, and how would I set it up? You can, as long as your combo has an output. So, for instance, a lot of combos have cables hardwired, either clipped on or soldered to the terminals on the speaker, and then there's a 1/4-inch plug plugged in the amp. If you have that, it's super easy. You're just going to plug a regular 1/4-inch speaker cable from your amp to the Tone King Ironman 2, and then you're going to plug the speaker cable from the speaker to that. It's done. You put it on top of the amp, call it a day. If you are hardwired, in other words, if you're soldered, like some kind of internal wiring coming out of the bottom of the amp, sometimes it happens, especially like on the Fender Basement and stuff. It's coming out of the bottom and then it goes right to the speaker or speakers. Then you're going to have to do some soldering, wiring, kind of put it in place. But yes, I hope that kind of makes sense what I'm saying. Again, it's super easy. It's not a difficult thing to pull off, especially if you're not hard soldered to everything. I have no idea. So I'm just going to say this person, I apologize. That's a lot of letters, man. It says, but you'll know who I'm talking about when I say your question. Phil, I love the channel. Need tele build, have HB. I think that's Harley Benton, but maybe, let's see how, let's go. In the neck. Nope, it's humbucker in the neck. So, okay, need tele build, have a humbucker in the neck that I can split, single coil at the bridge, can't decide how to match up the pickups, output, and also what type of wiring, value pots, caps. Okay, so basically what you're saying is you want to put a single coil in the bridge, humbucker in the neck, and you're not going to have a problem because most tele humbuckers are wound pretty hot. or sorry, Tele single coils in the bridge. They're wound pretty hot. It's not the same issue. Like a lot of times you have issues with strats where you put a humbucker in the bridge and you have a single coil in the neck, and there's a big dive off in the signal when you go to the neck, which is why you want the humbucker to be wired and wound a certain way. In the Tele, it's kind of like the Teles. You got to understand, Teles inherently, their issue is the bridge is really loud, punchy, out there, it's in your face, and then you go to the neck and it just drops. A lot of energy goes away. And that's why a lot of Tele players will put a mini humbucker or a P90 in the neck. It's not they don't like the Tele pickup, it's just they don't want that drop off. If you're trying to push an amp to overdrive and you get the bridge and you hit a chord and the amp's overdriven a little bit, you got a little breakup, you go to the neck, man, you just go clean. All of a sudden the amp goes clean. That's a really, really hard thing to deal with. So you don't really have to worry about a whole lot. I wouldn't put anything high output as a humbucker because then you would have that issue, right? So I would stick to anything that's like a PAF style pickup, anything that's gonna be 10K below kind of humbucker. I think you'd be fantastic in the neck. And then, like I said, and then for caps, let's back up for pots. I usually would say in that guitar, I would put 250s in there. That's how I would do that. Just because that just makes, I think it's easy. You can put either one. Again, the reason why I put 250s is this. Inherently, you got to understand the difference between the 250K pot and the 500K pot is that the 500K is going to let a little bit more highs out, or let through, I should say. It's a little bit brighter, okay? Well, here's the thing. I would rather have the 250K darken the neck pickup a little bit than have that bridge pickup be any more bright than it normally is. And that depends on what pickup you get, right? But if you're going with a standard like single coil Tele pickup, I would definitely say 250K pots. That's easy. And then capacitor, you just put a 0.47 microfarad in there, and that's perfect for the Tele. And then caps, you can go as crazy as you want. Get special ones, get vintage ones, get paper, oil, plastic, right? Recycled, whatever it is. Again, it's whatever, you want to try. What I always kind of chuckle about is, it's hard to predict what cap is going to work the best. Most of them sound the same. I love it when somebody says, they don't sound any different. Well, there's a lot of them that don't. And every once in a while, there's one that is. And that's why, like I said, it's nice to buy a few. I like to buy, I have tons of them, and you buy them and they're not super expensive, and you try them. And if you like them, great. And if not, I have a little drawer full of capacitors of, 4 7s and 2 2s. And I try them on different guitars. And it's weird to me sometimes, a lot of times actually, the cheap ones actually sound sometimes the best because it depends on what you want to do. Sometimes in a Tele, when you're rolling back that bridge pickup, you want that, again, those highs to dissipate, and those cheaper capacitors on those tone knobs, you roll them back, man, they suck all those highs out of there, and that's sometimes the thing you want. Luke says, "Hey Phil, great show. What do I think of the Gibson PCBs? Should you keep them or replace them?" I leave them alone unless you're replacing stuff. It depends, right? If somebody has me change a pickup and a guitar and a Gibson and it has the PC board in there in the cavity, it's one pickup, I'll go through the trouble to kind of desolder out the wires or, solder the clips on, put the clip on, put it back in the way it was, call it a day. One pickup's good. 2 pickups, I might still do that. But if they say change out this pot, this pickup, right, it's a workload thing. At some point, for me, it's not about how good or bad the PCBs are. It's about time. And that's, again, I'm just wired that way. Whether it's personal or for work, I'm pretty much wired the same when it comes to this stuff. To me, I'm going to look at this and go, okay, if I spend an hour and a half dorking around with this stupid PCB board and I can rewire this whole thing in less time, I'm just going to gut it, rewire it. And a lot of times I have, what's nice is I have the option with that because a customer, if it's even for a customer, because cost of labor is half, if not more than what the parts are. And a lot of times more, obviously, because, potentiometers are $5 or $7 now, or whatever they are now, $8 now. I bought in so many in bulk right when COVID happened. I haven't gotten through them, so I haven't seen what they are now. But cutting your labor time, cutting your labor back, it makes sense for the customer every time. You're like, hey, I can cut everything and rewire everything. It's $90. And they go, oh, $90. And they go, well, what if I do this? And I go, well, if you do that, I'm going to charge you $125 because it's going to take me this long. You know what I mean? And so to me, it's easier to just gut things, but it's not specifically because I don't like them. I just, again, it's a aggravation time issue thing. So, okay. John wants to know if the Gibson Nighthawk was the most underrated guitar. Is it the most underrated guitar? I don't think it gets the love it deserves. I think the Epiphone ones get some love, man. People really dig when Epiphone does the Nighthawk. It's really cool. The Nighthawk, I think the Nighthawk for me is one of those guitars that it's not that it's underrated. It's, I think, for me, in my personal experience with it was when it came out, I didn't really necessarily try it or know about it or want it. And they were inexpensive. And then by the time everybody gets hip to like, this is kind of cool. This is something different. It's like a Les Paul, but it's not a Les Paul. It's like a Strat. It's like a Tele. It's like, it's got this other vibe going. Now they're not cheap. So that's what happens sometimes. So I think if you were smart enough to grab one, I have friends that have Gibson Nighthawks that bought them probably, I mean, not new, but used, but they probably bought them for $500. I mean, that's $400. I mean, I remember them doing it going, this is great. And I'm like, I guess. And now 20 years later, like, oh, that's a good deal. Man, you should have bought one of those for $400 or $500, put it away and played it. So, unless of course they're $400 or $500 now, then who cares? Dirt Racer X says, what is my favorite pedal board? Well, I like Holy boards because I don't love Velcro, as you guys know. I have Temple boards, but I've decided I really don't like the Temple board thingies. What do you call it? Those things that stick to the bottom of the pedal. Here's why, man. You stick those things to the bottom of the pedals, and then when you decide you don't love that pedal anymore and you want to sell it, it's worse than Velcro to deal with that. You got to stick, like I stick a knife in there and I peel that thing off, and then I got to clean all the gum and glue off of it because I want to get the most for my pedal as possible. So I want it to be clean. So I'm not a huge fan of those couplers on the Holy boards. So I use zip ties on the Holy boards, and then Temple boards. And the other complaint about I have with Temple boards, which I still like them by the way, is that they kind of are flat. Right? They have a slight, it's weird. They put a slight elevation to them, but it's so slight, you can't tell. And on stage, I don't think I have a problem with that, but sitting down, man, it's a nightmare. As you guys know, if you sit, you need a pedal more at an angle than you do when you're standing on stage because you're sitting and your foot's different. So I like Temple boards. I would recommend them. But I like Holy boards probably a little bit more. And I'm about to try my first, because I've been only using Holy boards for like this whole time on YouTube. I've highlighted a couple boards maybe here or there in some light videos, not really dedicated videos. But if you guys know, I did that video with Vintage Tone about their clone pedal. And obviously the video seemed to do well because a lot of you guys bought that pedal. And rightly so. I mean, it's like getting a clone for sub $200 and it's, it's kind of cool. And what was I going to say? Oh, so long story short, they did what sometimes companies do. They basically sent me an email saying, hey, would you like to do another video? And I was like, yeah. And so they asked me what pedal. And so I don't want to ruin it because I don't want to tell you what pedal I picked. But I picked a pedal and I said, yeah, let's do another one. And I said, but I would really like to check out one of your pedal boards because if you guys were on their site, the pedal boards to me are different than their pedals because their pedals are really priced really good. Like $169 for their pedals and $150 for the pedals that you can see anywhere else charging $250 for. It's a good deal, right? It's a good quality pedal. It's handmade. It's a legit company. And they're putting a lot of time and effort in their work and their stuff. And then of course the price is right. The pedal boards look really good, but they seem a little pricier. So I have one of those. I don't know if it's coming yet, but it'll be here for January. And so I'll maybe hopefully we'll like that one. A lot of you guys have mentioned Mike Nesmith of the Monkees. Did he pass away? It says rest in peace. I'm assuming he passed away. I hadn't heard. I don't know if it. So it sucks to hear. A lot of us remember the Monkees. Man, the Monkees for me was after school. The Monkees for me was the first show after cartoons. So when I grew up, it was you get out of school and you ran not uphill, not in the snow. You just had to run. You had to run if you wanted to be in home on time. I mean, literally, I'd throw the backpack across the front room, slide into the family room in time for for a while it was Robotech, and then Voltron took the spot. But it was like in time for Robotech, and then you'd watch like Robotech, and then like Voltron, right? And you only got a few cartoons, if you guys remember. There were Saturday morning cartoons. You only got those for a little while from like 6 a.m. 6 a.m. you get like Felix the Cat, which sucked, and then slowly you get the better cartoons. And by like 9:30, 10 o'clock, you got Scooby-Doo, and then they were done with cartoons, right? The news would come on, and you'd be like, well, cartoons are over for the day. In the afternoons, when you got home from school, there was just a few minute cartoons. But then the Monkeys came on. They were like the first TV show after cartoons and reruns that I used to watch. And I used to love them for that. You know what I mean? It was before I knew what music was. I knew, I didn't even know what I was watching. I just remember watching it going, this is cool. And they would just slowly win you over because it was like the Beatles. It was like Three Stooges. It was great. So that sucks to hear. So. Bullets for My Teeth says, hey, Phil, do you remember Puffin Stuff? I do. Who doesn't remember Witchy Poo? Yes. Puffin Stuff is definitely a thing that if you go back, which I did probably in my late 20s, early 30s, I went back and watched a couple and then went, what the hell? Were we on drugs? Did they put something in my chocolate milk? BC Rich says, can you run in Phoenix heat? I didn't grow up in Phoenix. I grew up in Tucson, and yeah, you can, because Tucson is considerably a lot less hot. I mean, don't get me wrong. Most people, if you went to Tucson, you'd probably have a heart attack with the heat, but it's not in the level of Phoenix. No, it's not the same game. So... yeah, the Panda says, hey, here's what's funny. The Panda says, dude, Robotech was my childhood. Here's the irony of my life. My son is really into, I don't know what they're called. I always space it every time on the show when I try to say what he's into. He's into Japanese comic books, which are called something. Manga. My son's really into manga, like he has this huge collection of manga. He's really into manga. He's really into Japanese animation. I cannot get him to watch Robotech. It's the only I've watched all this Japanese Japanese animation that he's had me watch, and to be honest, I don't get it. I mean, it's fine. I just sit through it, but I'm like, oh, but I like Robotech. Somebody says anime. Sorry if I call it animation instead of anime, Japanese anime. And like I said, that's my bonding moment. Like, we'll watch Robotech and I'll like it. And he don't want to watch it. So one day I'll get him to watch it. Okay. We got to, again, sidetrack back to guitars. Maybe. The next one is from David, who says, I damaged my headstock on my 20 Mustang. Okay. I don't know. Okay. Repaired it well. I wonder which harms the value more. Leave the damage or buy a factory replacement neck. That's a good question. I mean, because once you do even a factory replacement neck, it's a parts guitar, and then it's got to be a parts guitar. That's an interesting question that I don't know the answer to, but it is interesting, right? What is better, having a repaired damaged guitar or a parts guitar? Because that's how we kind of thought of. And it's weird about parts guitars. If you think about it, you can get away with murder on a guitar until they get to the neck. So for instance, you get a guitar, you swap the pickups, you swap the bridge, you swap the electronics, and everybody's like, it's got swapped out stuff. But once you swap a neck, just that one thing, right? If you put the original tuning keys back on the neck, the original nut back on the neck, all the original, bridge, pickups, it's still considered a parts guitar. It's not the original guitar because the neck's been swapped. It's kind of funny how that works. It's kind of funny. I think I've said this all the time. I don't know anything about cars, but I assume cars got to be worked the same way, right? You swap the engine and that's like a big deal, right? So same thing. What's better, a rebuilt engine or a new engine dropped in a car? So I think the same thing. I would think that I think a repair might pull a little bit more value than replace, but either way, you're going to have to deal with it. It's an interesting question. I'm going to look because I'm sure you can look around on Reverb and see on guitars and see which ones got hit harder. Tim says, hey, Phil, happy Friday. Thanks for the Friday tradition. You know, it is a tradition. I thank you for saying that. He says, help me start my weekend. I agree. I think it's like I said, if this is like a virtual hangout every Friday. We kind of have this thing where we hang out. And by the way, last super chat of the day is Ray Sewell. So, and then I'm going to hit some non-super chats and stuff and talk about some other stuff. Morgan says, hey, thanks so much for the show, Phil. Love the PRS Paul's Guitar SE and Hollow Body SE. Thank you. I'm glad you do. Some of you guys caught it. Side note, I did when I did the attenuator video, aux versus captor. It's kind of a funny video. In that video, a couple of you said like, hey, is that a new PRS? And it is. It's an SE. And it was a gift. I got a PRS SE as a gift. And what's interesting about that SE is it's a limited edition color. I guess it was limited to some music store had a limited run of that color. It's a PRS Custom 22 semi-hollow SE. And I'm actually going to do my own sharp max and, on it. In other words, not like a video, but I'm going to swap the pickups on it. I actually probably won't swap anything else. I like everything else. I might swap the pickups, maybe locking keys, but I don't even know if I'm gonna do that. I like it just the way it is. I just have some pickups I'd like to drop in there and see what happens. I really like it. And one of the reasons is I just really, like I told you guys this before, I like PRS core guitars. I mean, they're dandy, but I find myself more and more just going, the S2s and the SEs, they feel great. Right. I just throw in the pickups I like and I'm just good. Again, kind of like this traveling, like, hey, let's go down this rabbit hole of trying all these high-end guitars and see what I get. And it's not that I don't think they're worth it. There's just physical comfort things I like about some of the lesser price PRSs. In fact, I can tell you right now, I prefer them. I prefer SEs and S2s in the comfort, the way the body contours are. I like everything. I like them more than the cores. I just kind of like, the fit and finish on the cores a little bit. So there you go. That's where that. So if you see that guitar and you're like, what is that? That's where it is. And then I'll eventually tell you about how I got the gift and all that stuff. It came with a nice letter. It was a really nice, interesting thing. It happened. It was really weird. And that's why I got to wait to tell you guys, because I'll probably do a video on the guitar and then that'd be a great time to talk about how that all went down and what the hell was that? Because it was strange in a positive way, but strange. Brian says, hey, Phil, on the Squier Classic Vibe Telly, is swapping out the saddles as easy as it seems? Sure, of course. I like to switch out the compensated saddle. Oh, I'd like to switch to compensated saddles. Is there any added work? Nope. Obviously, you'll swap them out and you got to intonate the guitar. That's pretty simple. You're just going to adjust them, adjust them. That's it. I have a how to intonate your guitar video. It's, again, like I told you earlier tonight, tech tip video. It's very to the point. 90% of the time it'll nail you there. And if not, then of course you got to deep dive after your problems after that. But 90% of the time it's going to just exactly what you need. Super easy. Okay. Again, I'm going to say, I don't want to say their name wrong. I'm going to Google it though and figure it out for next time. It says, but here's your question. The question is, there is no boundaries in love of music, passion for gear, and goodness in people. China is a big country, and there are tons of people just like you. I 100% agree, by the way. I don't know where this is going, but I want to kind of hit on it. We love music. We are gear nerds, and please show some love. And you know what? That's what I kind of talk about when I say it's weird to me why... I mean, I understand the world's a crazy platform right now. And there's, like I said, again, we're not going to get political. We're not going to get this. What's funny to me is like, I've had trouble with this over the years with the channel where, I talk to somebody and I want you to be very clear. I'll use one as example. It's like Shiji guitars and Inkshi guitars. And I want you to be I want to be very clear. These are people, in a lot of cases, they're people that, probably worked for a big factory or big corporation, and then they literally started on their own. No different than anyone in the world. They literally are going, okay, I was working, like somebody works for Fender and they go, I'm gonna start my own small shop and start making my own guitars. And to me, that's different than the big corporation vibe. It's different than some of the government lines. So yeah, I great for pointing that out, because I agree 100%, which is why I try not to, and I want to be very, very clear. And again, it's one of those things, you just got to say it. I don't care what everybody's beliefs are. I don't care if you hate something or like something. I don't care if you're for or against something. I don't really focus on that. And it's not some kind of bullshit thing that I'm putting out there because I don't want to lose subscribers, or I don't want this, or I want to make sure everybody's happy. I just don't care. I only care about what connects me to people. I care about if you like guitar, if you like music. This is a very, I understand all those things matter, and we do have to, think about them as people, but the time I spend with you guys here in this environment, I want it to be about music and guitars. And I understand that because we're gear nerds, we care about how things are made and where they're made and why they're made. And that's why I address those things. And I always broach on those because I think it's important. And the reality is that we'll always talk about it on this channel. But I want to be real clear again. Same thing. I will review a $500 guitar. I will review a $5,000 guitar. I will review a $50 guitar because I figure it's like everything. You got to go. I'm doing, like I said, I'm a surrogate. That's what YouTubers have become if they're doing it right. And I hope I'm doing it even half right. A surrogate is just, you can't touch this stuff. Like, you know what I mean? She doesn't have a guitar anywhere. I'm not saying you should buy their guitar because, again, like I told you, I don't care what you guys buy. I just want to give you the information, good and bad. This is what I think. It's what I think. And if you're, and I believe this, if you watch enough of any channel, I don't care if you think that channel is full of crap or if you think they're transparent and honest, whatever you think is fine. Those are usually vibes, is what I find. People vibe a thing. This person vibes like they're telling the truth. This person feels like crap. In fact, I love it whenever every time I really am passionate about something, somebody goes, oh, you're a corporate shill. And I'm like, right. Well, you know what? When you fall in love with a girl, your friends can't stand to listen to you talk about her for the same reason. When I'm really in love with a product, it does come across like I'm a ShamWow guy because I'm just a little overly excited, which is why sometimes I wait and tame down because I don't want to give that vibe. But the point of the story is, it doesn't matter if a channel is full of crap or if they're transparent or what you vibe about them. The reality is just like this live show. If you watch enough of anybody, you'll figure out what's going on, right? It's like, again, if you play poker enough times with somebody, you find their tell. Everyone who's been watching me for years or months, I love it. They put in the comments all the time. They know no matter what I say or think, they got the vibe. And most of the time they're right. Because again, I can try to spin things nice or bad or be in a mood or not be in a mood. But again, you kind of get the vibe. And so, like I said, over the years, I used to say like everybody, like I told you this before, every channel does this. I used to do this a long time ago. Very, very sparingly did I say this, but I probably have said it where I said, I only do videos of stuff I like. But that's not true anymore. Hasn't been true for years. I do videos of anything I think you guys will watch, anything you guys think will find interesting, anything I think that will expose in an interesting, positive or negative way. It's why I still do videos like guitars in all 50 states, and I still do reviews, and I jump all over the place, and I do interviews with like Michael Badio. It's because I'm just trying to create content that I find interesting so I can stay in a certain mood that makes hopefully something entertaining for everybody and fun. Because I like a lot of people that have to have the balls to say this. I have no idea what I'm doing, and none of you do either. We're all just on this internet platform doing stuff. And at the end of this, really what I care about is one day when I look back at all these videos that are just stuck out there on the internet, I'd like to be like, that wasn't horrible. I could have said and done worse. There's my speech. I feel speechy today. I apologize. Telecaster 48, thank you for supporting the channel, man. I appreciate that. Jim Woodward said, thanks for this. I think he means the show. Phil, I wanted to say that YouTube forgot it was built by people who were fed up with mainstream. Exactly. That's why I love it. He says media and celebs forgot where it came from. I agree, man. I love it. I agree, man. It's great. I 100% agree. That's why I said I think that's why this podcast, live podcast, like a lot of live shows that do well. I think it does well because I think I can make a video showing you a piece of product or doing an instructional thing, and I think that's interesting. But I think it's more interesting to know, like, when you're hanging out here, we're just shooting the shit. You know what I mean? I know I'm cursing a lot, but I just kind of feel like coming across that way right now. This is it. This is the agenda. You guys toss me a couple bucks like a live band. If I do a super chat, I try to grab some non-super chats. We all just kind of talk about guitars. You guys pick the subjects. I start every show. I love it. Every freaking week, 240 weeks now. If somebody always says to me when they bump into me, what are you going to talk about on this week's show? And I always say, I have no idea. I have no idea. I'm just reading comments and going off the cuff. So I think that's why other channels and this channel, I think that's what we like. And again, because it's community, and it's community because, again, it's not preloaded stuff. So great. Again, and one more time, just to reiterate, I think if we focus on how the fact that we're all guitar players, musicians, I think that's what really is important. At the end of all this, that's all that matters. Everything else the world can fight about. But us, we're hanging out on a Friday talking about the things we love. That's good for us, man. I literally couldn't imagine a better situation other than being in person. Like, if I could hang out with you physically in a place, that would be way better than this. But that's not going to happen. Ray says beer on him. And he says, best tube screamer to pair with a super reverb. I really like the Red Dirt by Keeley, and that pedal was funny. One of a viewer stopped me at a Guitar Center to say hi, hey, and the way that you guys say it that I love when you guys say, hey, do you do YouTube videos? I'm like, I do. And they go, yeah. And they go, I like what you do. And they were talking, they said, I play the Red Dirt. It's like the best pedal ever. And I'm like, oh, cool. And they go, you need to try it. And sometimes, that's what happens. I go somewhere and somebody's like, hey, Phil, you need to try this. You need to try that. And that's great. But he was really not, dialing it down. It was like, man, you got to try this. It's like the greatest pedal ever. And so I got home and I started thinking about going, well, I'm friends with Robert Keeley and those guys. So I sent Robert Keeley an email and I said, or I might have messaged him, but either way, text or email. And I said, hey, can I check out a Red Dirt? And I didn't look into it. I didn't know what the hell was going on. And he's like, sure. Literally, it came the next day. I don't know if he overnighted it or just life worked out that way, but it got there the next day. It was crazy. Got it plugged in the guitar amp, and I didn't know, but it's basically a tube screamer. And it's a tube screamer that's got like this better mids. And my first reaction was loved it. My second reaction was, oh my God, this is $200. It's basically a tube screamer. Right? But I'll tell you, I honestly believe this. And you can pick them up used if you don't want to pay the price. That's the great thing about pedals. You can buy it new or used. Man, it kicks. And so I would recommend that pedal because I got rid of all of my tube screamers except for one. I have a 1984 TS9, and they're like worth $300, and that's the only reason I'm not getting rid of it because I know it's not going to go down, right? It just stays, and I'll sell it one day when it hits some price, that makes sense because I'm into it for like $200, so it's not like but that's it, man. The Red Dirt for me. So that's what I would suggest to you. Check it out if you can. There was a mini Red Dirt, but I guess they don't make them anymore. But definitely check them out. Because you know why? I love tube screamers, but some of the things that people don't like about tube screamers, I have the same problem. They kind of push the highs on the amp a little weird. And that's great when you're live because it's like in your face, which is what you're trying to do when you're live, right? You're trying to let people know you're here. I'm here to play music and you're here to listen. And this is how we're going to get your attention. Tube screamers get people's attention. This is the problem, though, is in your bedroom. Not so much. You don't need your own attention. So I like that it doesn't give me those upper highs that I don't like so much. So Sean says, Robert Keeley is so cool. I wish I could work for them. You know what? I can tell you right now, if there was one company I could ever work for in the industry, like, hey, I got to, I'm not doing YouTube. I'd like to work for, it would be Robert Keeley. That guy's seriously, as you guys know, I love Lawrence LPD pedals. You know, I love Larry DiMarzio. I mean, I've met so many people in this industry, and there's so many I mean, I feel bad if I don't. John at Bad Cat. There's so many people I've met who literally has nothing to do with YouTube, just personal conversations of joy all the time. And I look forward when the phone rings. I look forward to like, what are we going to talk about? It's going to be something great. And I can tell you with Robert, he is true, and that's what everybody cares about, right? You care about, are they who they seem to be? He is true to who you think he is, man. That guy is literally, whatever you think of Robert Keeley and his, as you've seen him as a persona, he seems like a super nice guy. He's way nicer than that. He's super nice. Super, super nice. So, and then we'll end on this note. Brian says, Brian S. Guitar says, I like the cranked Klon over the Tube Screamer. A lot of people do. That's kind of what I liked about this Red Dirt. It was kind of like, okay, I'm not in the Klon territory and I'm not in the Tube Screamer territory. And that was kind of like a sweet spot for me. So, you know. And I change, so you know, I change sometimes. You could ask me 6 months from now and I'll be like, I like a boost pedal. Because a lot of times I just like boost pedals. But sometimes I'm in a Tube Screamer mood. Again, it has to do with the amp, the guitar I'm using all the time. You know, what I hear in my ears. It just happens, you know. But I like it. All right. We did it. we let me try to do one more. Let's do one bonus. Let's do. Fret level midnight. I always do this, right? One more, and then this isn't it. And that's what I'm going to say right now. One more, and this is not it. Fret level midnight says KYG needs to lower their prices by several hundreds of dollars before I'd consider buying one. Their prices are laughable. Look, I talked to Dave at KYG, you know, about this. So you guys know I was very upfront. I like all the videos. I always tell you guys the as much of the dirt as I can tell you guys that's interesting, that helps you. When I did Inkshi guitars, I mentioned that I talked to Moland, which is the guy who runs Inkshi, because, you know, it doesn't matter. It's a lot of story, but Moland and Dave used to work together, and now they don't. Now there's Inkshi and KYG and whatever have you. And like always in those things, I always try to be as ethical as possible and just say, okay, I'll either work with neither of you or both. And I've done that many times, and I don't know if it works out for me in the end. It usually doesn't, but I do it. And so I work with both of them. And here's the deal. I gave them both the same advice because they needed it, which is I told Mo, I said, dude, your guitars are just too high. I mean, no one's going to buy those guitars for those prices. And he lowered it a little bit, but I think it was still too high. I talked to Dave at KYG. I said the same thing. And I want to just tell you this because it's important. The pain in his tone that he can't. I don't know why he can't. That's what I said. I started this earlier, the show, when I said, all of a sudden there's these guitars and they're not cheap. They're super expensive. I mean, let me put it this way. I got the impression, because I agree with you, by the way, Fret Level Midnight, we're on the same page, man. I'm not. I told him, exactly what I told him. The KYG Telly is one of the best Tellys I've ever played. Put it in my top 10 Tellys of all time. No one's going to pay more than what I can buy a Mexican player's Telly for, which is, by the way, considerably less than his. And even though he's got some cool upgrades over that, like, because remember, they make a roasted maple neck player's Telly as well. So I'm talking about that because this is a roast maple neck. I think the finish on the KYG was better. The color was cooler. The colors he's offering, a couple of them, like that gold one, really cool. I didn't see that offered. That's got to be worth something. Like I said, the upgraded bridge, I thought the pickups were a little better. There's a couple of things. The case, it comes with a nice gig bag, not a case, but a really nice gig bag, a couple other accoutrements. And again, okay, but KYG versus Fender, I mean, realistically, he's got to do all that. And then if they were the same price, it's still a tough sell. But at least it's like, okay, do you care about the Fender branding, or do you care to get a little extra more for your money? And same price. And then you got to add in, he's selling an AliExpress, which is just dodgy as hell. And that's why you guys have seen the KYG guitar for the last few months in the background of videos. That's why the video is not out, because at some point, this is going to be the video, just like the Inkshi guitar video, which is, it's great, but these are the issues. And I told him, I go, you gotta resolve this. And I'm telling you, I don't know. I don't see a happy ending in this story. I don't see he can. I don't know what it is. And fret level saying the market dictates the price. Well, absolutely. And that's the reality of it. The reality is, here's what I will tell you. I mean, no exaggeration. $8.99, which is a lot. I'd be a buyer for a Shishi on that telly for $8.99. I definitely would buy it for $900. Now that's with me having hindsight of played it and knowing what I'm getting and already having it. But I don't know if I could say that openly if I was going to say, okay, well, I just watched a video about it and some guy said it was pretty cool. And then now I got to buy it on AliExpress and see how that works. But so, I can only do what I can do, which is I tell the companies like, hey, this is what I think you're going to see. This is what the comments are going to, and ultimately what nobody wants to see is they send out the guitar. I do the video. They get 20,000, 50,000, 5,000, doesn't matter. They get whatever views and then it ends it ends flat. That's how I feel the Inkshi video went. You guys, I don't know how many views it got, 30,000 maybe. And the video was basically exactly what we're all saying right now. Fantastic looking guitar, Phil. Great, great, options, but no way am I a buyer for almost $1,000. And, yeah, I tell you right now, I will tell you this, what I will suggest to you, and I said this before, but I'll say it again. When I do videos on those products, if it doesn't end up helping them with sales, which is not always the case, like I said, I'm not really interested in sales. I always call to you guys to say, be helpful with your comments. I mean, of course, people are going to put like, China, screw that. I'm not doing that. That guy's out there. Fine. Let that guy be his thing. But what I'm telling you is these people being these small builders, they read those comments and you can affect change on them to some degree. Think about this. And we'll end on this note. My year in review video will have an update on the Kolos guitar. If you guys don't know what that is. And it's, and what ended up happening after the Kolos video and why you never saw another Kolos, even though there was a lot of work done. So again, like I said, if we can't, we're a guitar community. We're here to talk guitars, whether it's with companies or people. So Eric says, I love the KYG shirt. Yeah, my wife made this for me. We did some Teespring ones and I got some, and you guys said that the colors were crap. They were. And I don't know what is Teespring. My wife made one. You can buy one like this in white. The whole logo is white. It's the only way we get Teespring not to screw it up. So if you guys like this logo, this is the podcast logo. See, if I was doing the branding correctly, which I never do, this is the podcast logo, which is why it's in the corner right there. And the stick figures are the YouTube logo. That's kind of how the marketing is supposed to work, but I'm just all over the place as always. And what I'm trying to say? I'm trying to say, so if you want one, for some reason in white, they have them in white on Teespring. What I asked my wife is about maybe doing a limited run of these and having somebody local make them. And then, then sell them to you guys so that we know we have control. Because again, anytime Teespring, you guys, anytime I get complaints about Teespring, I'm pretty on it about either correcting, removing the shirts. You know what I mean? Like I said, sometimes they do stuff fine and sometimes they're just a disaster. It's weird. So, oh, Mark said isn't there a giveaway? There is a giveaway. There is a giveaway, and I'm just going to not do it again because I'm all over the place. Guitar Crate is going to give us a $45 Guitar Crate to give away. I have to pick somebody. And how am I going to do that? What? Let's see. Hold on a second. Looking at I got to figure out an idea. Landon Bailey says, know your logos. Yes, there you go. Okay. All right. I did again. I apologize. I just pick things randomly. I know we need to come up with some official way of doing stuff. Tactical 6-string. You just won because I liked Crate Me. And I like that you put the exclamation mark first. And I like that because to point out something. I love when remember I told you guys bad ideas are infectious. And if you guys that follow the show, which is my statement that when somebody does something bad, that then other people follow that, like other companies, right? So somebody does something stupid, then another company does something stupid. What's funny is I started saying on the channel, and I still do, hey, put the question mark first, and then that way I know you're talking to me. And I did that because I had no idea apparently that if you just put the @ symbol before my name, that would also get my attention because that would let me know you're talking to me because it would say Phillip McKnight in a red box. I didn't know that. That's not what's funny about this. What's funny was I just said question marks first, which by the way, I'll probably keep going with because I did it. My point is I did that as a way to fix a problem with but not knowing because of my ignorance that there was already a way to kind of get my attention. What I thought was funny now is I've watched a couple of YouTube channels and now they're saying that. And what I love is, one, I know where they got it from because it was this craziness. And two, it was my bad idea and now it's infected other channels. So now we've spread the community of that, which is question marks at the beginning. So tactical 6-string, the fact that you had an exclamation mark at the front and it said crate me, which just made me laugh. So you get the guitar crate. What I will do is we talk about giving away 2 today because I'm back one. What I'll do is on the live show replay, when I'm index this, obviously in a few minutes when this ends, I'm going to index all the questions. I will create a link to enter to win the other one, so that all you guys can enter to win if you'd like to win. All right. That way we'll give it, and then I'll pull a winner. I'll pull a winner like midweek or something like that. Let people who are watching the rebroadcast try to win too. So that's kind of nice too. All right. On that note, I'm gonna let you guys go. Now you're all doing the ad McKnight thing. It's awesome. All right, guys. Thank you so much. You guys made Friday awesome. By the way, side note, tomorrow I'm gonna have a Know Your Gear Christmas party, which is exciting. So friends, family, we're gonna go to dinner. It's gonna be great. All right. On that note, I'll let you guys go till the next time, which is next Friday, the 17th at the same time. You guys have a great week. Play guitar, have fun, and know your gear. And I'll let you go.